sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward sports merch today.
Welcome to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. And today, as you can see, Adham Beydoun is currently out. He is not feeling well, but in his place, we have Sam Flannel. And we have a packed show for today. Jeff Iafrate, your host for today. Gabrielle D. Phillips, as usual. JB in the booth as well. And if you're watching, don't forget, subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you can't watch us live, download our podcast. Leave a 5-star review. And again, available everywhere to wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple, Spotify. It does not matter. Or you can check out our website, woodwardsports.com, unless you're watching live already on woodwardsports.com. Check out the latest news, articles, updates, show clips, and merchandise. But it's Monday, May 8th. How you doing this morning, Sam?
I'm pretty good, man. The reports of Anthony Davis and the Lakers' demise were maybe greatly overstated by the man who usually sits here who said Warriors in 5 after Game 2. It's funny how that works.
Yeah, this entire playoffs has been interesting to say the least. I mean, you had the Lakers going up 2-1. You had the Suns really on the backs of Devin Booker and Kevin Durant, again tying the series after being down 2-0. And did you see the stuff with Matt Ishbia, by the way?
Oh, yeah.
With Jokic. What are your thoughts on that? Because I've seen both sides of it.
I'm hoping that Nikola Jokic doesn't face any sort of suspension or anything like that because it's such a good series. Jokic is balling. Devin Booker looks like the best NBA player ever in this playoffs, which is absolutely insane. It looked like Matt Ishbia may have flopped a little bit. I mean, Jokic just kind of does one of these, and Ishbia's just like, whoa!
Oh, he definitely flopped. We have a lot to get into, by the way. We're going to talk a little, obviously, the NHL lotteries tonight, and I have an important question for Sam Flannel and everybody listening as we go live. Then I want to talk about Kevin Ollie, one of the finalists for the Pistons head coaching job. I want to talk about the other finalists as well, Charles Lee and Jaron Collins. A little bit of Mike Budenholzer, if we can get to it, because I know how Sam feels about Budenholzer, and me and him disagree, and I'd love to discuss it. We're going to get into NBA playoffs later in the show. Don't worry, we're not going to spend too much time on NBA playoffs. I know, especially with the Tigers. I did want to talk about the Tigers because, again, they're third right now in the AL Central, for whatever that's worth, if that's worth talking about. And later on in the show, I want to get into a discussion about which NFL draft pick in this year's 2023 draft are you rooting for outside of Detroit. But to start it off, Sam, just to start with the Matt Ishbia stuff, because I want to kind of get that out of the way. I saw the clip. I watched the game live. I could see both sides of it because from Jokic's side, if you saw his press conference, he kind of talked about, he's like, well, at the same time, the league's supposed to protect us. And if he goes into the stands or for whatever reason, I think Matt Ishbia was holding the basketball. Jokic comes up to him, and you can kind of see Ishbia put his hand on Jokic a little bit. Now, should have Jokic shoved him? No. But again, I could see both sides. But we can agree, if this was Draymond Green, he probably would have already been suspended before he left the arena. I think the fact that it's Jokic is probably more so why this is even a debate at this point.
Well, and that's true, and that's why things like track record matters. I mean, I know a lot of Draymond Green likes to play the victim a little too often or not. And I know that this isn't a Draymond Green discussion, but because Nikola Jokic is seen as one of the NBA's good guys, he's one of the most beloved players in the NBA. He's one of the biggest stars in the NBA right now. Nobody wants to be the one to suspend him. And the Nuggets, if they lose Nikola Jokic for even a game, I think they're cooked.
That's a playoff series altering suspension.
Playoff series altering.
Like we talk about Giannis in the first round being hurt for those 2 games. I mean, that's a similar move, especially if Jokic gets suspended for a game. The series is tied 2-2. Like that's a significant move if Jokic were to be suspended. I don't think he should. If they do, it is what it is. Ishbia flopped bad, and you could see that. But again, this is the world we live in. I want to ask you a question, Sam. NHL lotteries tonight. And Connor Bedard he's a stud.
Oh, yeah.
I think we can all mutually agree there. Pistons lottery is in about a week from now. Victor Wembanyama is a stud. two teams that, listen, we're rooting for to win the lottery. I think we can agree that the NHL lottery, there's probably more of a chance that the Red Wings can slide, so that's always worrying. I mean, the Pistons, at least if they slide, they'll still be picking top 5. The Red Wings could slide all the way to 7, 8. But in your opinion, if you had to pick one, which lottery are you looking more to, and which lottery would you rather win? The Red Wings or the Pistons? Where they're currently at as a franchise.
This is tough because I would love nothing more than for the Pistons to be good and exciting. And if they get Victor Wembanyama, you might be looking at play-in game next year or maybe in playoffs next year, especially if he becomes what we all think he can become and Cade Cunningham comes back healthy. But Connor Bedard, this Red Wings team is dying for like that superstar 1C type player. They were a borderline playoff contender for much of the year without him. And if you put Connor Bedard on this team, I truly believe you get your Jack Hughes, you get your Connor McDavid, you get your Sidney Crosby type player. And that might be the last piece to a team that could contend for cups. As of right now, we already see a team with Dylan Larkin, with Mo Sider, with Lucas Raymond, with guys like that next year should be in the playoffs. But with Connor Bedard, this could expedite things to a level in which we're expecting cups in a couple of seasons. I think he really is that good. I think he is one of the best prospects of the past 10, 15, 20 years. That's why I mentioned him in the likes of the Connor McDavids and the Jack Hughes. So to me, it has to be the Red Wings just because they are closer. And I think Connor Bedard has the potential to put them over the top soon.
And I think another argument you could make would be there's more risk with Victor Wembanyama, even though he's an incredible talent. I think I would even be willing to admit, with him being 7'5", the history of the NBA usually tends to look at 7'5" human beings, and naturally they're just more injury prone. There's not a science behind it. It is what it is. There's a lot more risk with Victor Wembanyama. I'm willing to admit that. So for me personally, even I would say if the Red Wings win the lottery, my goodness, what it would mean not only for the Red Wings to kind of kickstart this, I don't want to say rebuild, but retool a little bit. The Pistons, even if they don't win the lottery, if they're still picking top 3, they will be okay. Like, although Victor, Victor's the number 1 overall pick. He's the best prospect arguably since LeBron. That's all said. Yes, I agree with all of it. But there is more risk with Victor. We can agree there. With Connor Bedard, what he did this year and last year, I think the point differential from him and the next guy was 35 points.
It's ridiculous.
Hasn't happened in like 40 years, Sam.
He's like a more than 2 points per game guy. It's unbelievable. And you mentioned Victor Wembanyama. I think the science behind it, and I know it's not exact science, human beings are not supposed to be 7'5".
No.
And with that kind of athleticism, and there's always a risk when it comes to that. We all agree that if he pans out to what that he can be, we might be looking at a type of NBA player that we've never seen before. Or he could become Kristaps Porzingis. And Kristaps Porzingis, he's been very, very good when he's played, but I would say that Kristaps Porzingis has been a disappointment, especially given his potential and given what you see when he's out there. And if you draft Kristaps Porzingis if you draft someone at number 1 overall, especially considered that unicorn-type prospect that people compare, at least in terms of hype, with a LeBron, although not quite to that level, but approaching that level. You have to be a superstar. You can't even be Kristaps Porzingis. And being 7'5" in the NBA, it could mean that you are the most unstoppable force the NBA has ever seen, or it means that you can become a very, very injury-prone type player who's kind of awkward out there. I think Connor Bedard is a sure thing.
Yeah, I would agree with that. JB, I want to ask you, too, both lotteries, in your opinion, you're a fan of both, Red Wings and Pistons. What lottery would you rather win and why?
Oh, it has to be the Pistons.
Pistons?
Yeah, it has to be the Pistons. Look, Victor Wembanyama, all season, that's all anyone can talk about. If this guy is supposed to be the basketball guy that he is, come into Detroit and save the Pistons from where we're at right now. NHL, look, I love the Wings. Shout out to D-Mac and everything, but I've just been a fan of the Pistons for way too long. The bad boy era, once we got that championship in 2004, it's like I want to have that feeling once again back here in the city. So give me the Pistons all day.
Yeah, and there's part of that, like, and I was reading some of these comments, and I'd agree with I can't remember who said it, but the point they made was, I would say they made the point for the Red Wings because the Pistons already have Cade Cunningham. They already have a superstar, which, okay, fair. But to your point, JB, if you had Victor Wembanyama, and let's say he is more healthy than I even would think, and he's the player we all think he is, you're damn right. The Pistons' chances and what they would mean in the East would significantly increase. But to your point, Sam, and what I agree with Connor Bedard is the guy's a for sure stud. And there's no question marks regarding injury or anything like that for his size. Connor Bedard, 5'10", and what he did last year in Canada, I mean, it's ridiculous the productivity he has. And to drop him on this team right now with where the Red Wings are at currently, like even though we trust Troy and trust Yzerman in terms of identifying talent in the draft, if you get the number 1 overall pick and you have a guy that you could argue since Connor McDavid, like with the generational talent that Connor Bedard possesses, I would say that's much more important. But if Victor Wembanyama is the best prospect since LeBron, I don't think there's really a bad answer here.
It's risk versus reward.
Yeah,
here.
exactly.
And at the end of the day, you're taking a serious risk with the one, and it's a for sure answer with the other. So I would go with this more solid answer, which is Bedard.
And I'm looking at this poll, too. I just put a poll up. You guys can check that out, WoodwardSports.com. Which lottery would you rather win? 61% of you say Red Wings, which I think is fair, 60-40. Not a huge landslide, but again, I think more would agree that the Red Wings lottery with who they'd be getting at number 1, again, Victor Wembanyama, uber talented, but like Gabby just laid out, it's the risk versus reward. There's a lot more risk with Victor Wembanyama.
In an ideal world, we'll get both, right?
Or we could just say F it, get both, and then we could celebrate on the Morning Woodward Show. I would love that scenario.
Very little chance of that actually happening.
You wish.
King Tay says, as much as I want Victor, we need a better coach to make the difference, which we will be talking about later in the show, by the way. JD says, WoodwardSports.com, Wings have no hope in the first pick. Your talk is a waste of time. Oh, wow. Thanks for the positivity, JD. Nick Williams says the Wings have never won the lottery, and if they don't win, chances are they will pick 9. See, that's the that's where I push towards the Wings there, because the drop-off with both teams, if the Pistons don't win the lottery, they'll still be in somewhat of a position to still take. I mean, I like 3 to 4 players in this draft for the Pistons. For the Red Wings, get Connor Bedard, period. I think we can agree.
Well, in the Red Wings, unlike the Pistons, the Red Wings aren't supposed to win this lottery. The Red Wings are actually much, much closer. You saw them actually play very, very well. There was one point in time, as I said earlier, where I was thinking, can they make the playoffs? The Pistons, on the other hand, and I know it was heavily injury-aided with Cade Cunningham being out for most of the year, they had the worst record in the NBA. So seeing as how close the Detroit Red Wings are, if they get Connor Bedard, we could be talking about, I don't want to say Stanley Cup next year, but in a couple years.
Well, that's the ceiling now gets to, I think, a Stanley Cup. I would agree with you.
Gets to like cups or bust, maybe. Like at least in this next upcoming era.
Yeah, that's the type of player Connor Bedard is. And again, 55-45 for the odds right there in the poll. So as I'm talking, the odds went up for the Pistons. Now it's 54-46. So damn near 50-50. And that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I think you can make an argument for both. I'm willing to go with the player that there's less risk, and we know what he can be, and that's Connor Bedard. I'll tell you what, we'll go to break. When we get back, I want to talk about Kevin Ollie and kind of the Pistons head coaching search, get into that a little bit later on. We'll get to some NFL talk. But before we do that, Sam, can you tell everybody at home where they can get their haircut? Because I need one bad.
Absolutely, and I just got one not that long ago, and that is Lady Jane's, of course, always has me looking good. All of the stylists in there do such a great job. I don't even ask for one because they have all done me right. Come to Lady Jane's where you get an award-winning haircut, open 7 days a week, 10 to 8. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
The sports marketing agency would not be who we are without great community partners like Higuera Health and Carol Zaniga.
It's an awesome opportunity to partner with your organization. Higuera Health is a comprehensive behavioral health organization. We serve children through older adults with mental health, substance use, and developmental disabilities across Western Wayne counties, and really excited to now be in downriver communities as well. Give us a call at 734-458-4601.
We don't like to brag that we are the toughest sports network in Detroit, but we do have a guy named Darren McCarty on our side.
Lemieux and McCarty, who've had a good knockdown drag up. There they go, right on the whistle. They were talking to one another.
Woodward Sports.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show. If you're watching at woodwardsports.com, thanks for tuning in. And be sure to check out our articles and our merchandise. And if you're watching at YouTube, like and subscribe. If you're listening after the fact, wherever you listen to your podcast, please be sure to download and leave a 5-star review because we have Sam Flannel today. And that is worth 5 stars.
Thank you.
Yes, we do. We have Sam Flannel here on the Morning Woodward Show, woodwardsports.com. No Adham Beydoun today. He is not feeling well, but in his place, as always, my guy, good friends of the show, Sam Flannel. And Sam, I want to get into this Pistons head coaching search because it's been going on for a couple weeks now. And again, you're seeing more names floated around. I know Ime Udoka, he's a part of the Rockets now, and you see Mike Budenholzer get fired. What does that mean for Charles Lee? Amori Sokofa, great writer, by the way, works for the Detroit Free Press, talked about this in an article, and he laid out all 3 of the candidates because they're actually flying out this week to meet with Tom Gores in L.A., in California, to have more of a personal interview, and he kind of gave a short summary of each head coach. And I'll just read them off for you guys before we get into who we prefer, and I'll go around the room to this. But he writes, Charles Lee, the youngest of the bunch at 38, has been on the former Milwaukee Bucks head coach's staff, Mike Budenholzer's, since 2014. Milwaukee promoted Lee to associate head coach last summer. It's unclear if Budenholzer's recent firing will impact Lee's availability, which I tend to think it will. In addition to the Pistons, he recently interviewed for the Toronto Raptors' vacant position. So, again, that's Charles Lee, 38 years old, assistant head coach. He also interviewed for Toronto. And then there's Jaron Collins. And here's an interesting name as well. Thought to be one of the NBA's brightest head coaching prospects before Detroit native Willie Green, shout out to Willie Green, his bench in 2021. He was the Golden State Warriors defensive coordinator, won 3 championships with the organization. Collins is also a former NBA player as well, played 13 seasons after being selected in the second round in the 2001 draft. And then there's Kevin Ollie, which, if you look at all 3 candidates, I think most people, he's probably third on their list, to be honest with you. But Ali, I think, still has a good resume. I just think the lack of NBA experience shies people away. Won an NCAA title with UConn, but still has the least amount of experience on an NBA bench. It says he took over UConn in 2012, led the program to a national championship, but after a few down seasons, he was fired. He later won a lawsuit against his former school, and most recently was coaching and head of basketball development at Overtime Elite before stepping down. So those are the 3 guys. Those are your finalists. I know we had the discussion last week about Budenholzer, but again, these are the 3 guys that are flying out. And again, part of me at the same time, we talked about Budenholzer. I didn't think that Budenholzer, a guy of his stature with his resume, although I'm not a huge fan of him coming to the Pistons, I didn't think he would even look at this job, to be honest with you. I think Budenholzer's a guy that wants to walk into a situation where he can win right away. These 3 coaches that are interviewing are guys that are looking for a promotion, looking for an opportunity. And out of the 3 guys, my favorite is still Charles Lee. Now, how does that affect with what the Milwaukee Bucks are doing? I don't know. I would assume that he's bright enough to at least interview for that job and possibly potentially even get the job, because like Neil Rule laid out last week, if they're getting Giannis's opinion, Charles Lee is somebody that a lot of the players love, Sam Flannel. They do.
Yeah, and if you're the Milwaukee Bucks, I would think that Charles Lee would be maybe number 1 on your list. And if you're Charles Lee, would you rather coach the Milwaukee Bucks that are perennial NBA title contenders or the Detroit Pistons who are rebuilding? I know that making your own legacy in Detroit, if he were to win in Detroit, he would be one of the biggest legends in all of the city. But you have a ready-made situation, and you would think if Giannis Antetokounmpo gives you his stamp of approval that Charles Lee would be the guy.
Right.
But if somehow, some way that the Detroit Pistons could get Charles Lee, I think that would be a slam dunk hire, because he was, I would say, the top assistant on a team that was one of the most consistent winners in the NBA over the last 5 years. They won a title. They had 2 runs that were cut short, I think, heavily due to injuries in these last couple of years. And hey, if there would have been no injuries, who knows? And then you look at Jaron Collins. He's another one that's very, very intriguing. He, just like Mike Budenholzer, was an assistant on multiple championship teams. And as you say, was very, very instrumental in their defense, which has become one of the most underrated aspects of the Golden State Warriors, is how good they've been defensively. That's one of the reasons they've been able to win 4 titles. I would be happy with Jaron Collins as well, or at least giving him a look. I want guys who have been assistants on championship teams if you can get them. Kevin Ollie, though, that's one. If the Pistons go after Kevin Ollie and ultimately hire Kevin Ollie, all I have to say to that is this better work. Because Kevin Ollie, not only does he have basically little experience on an NBA bench. He has zero experience on an NBA bench. I get it. He was the coach of UConn. They won a national championship in 2014 with Shabazz Napier. I just think that Kevin Ollie is sort of I don't want to use this term because it gets kind of thrown around, but sort of like the smartest man in the room type of hire.
Yeah.
He's not someone that I think is very, very coveted. I know when he was in the NBA, he played on a lot of different teams. He was kind of that wily veteran, which kind of in the same light as, I don't know, Kev, you know what I'm saying? Like a wily veteran kind of guy, but he's never actually been a head coach. And I don't think people know this. He was on UConn, and then he was, I believe, was it the Ignite or the
overtime elite?
The overtime elite.
Yep.
That's just about it. So Jaron Collins and Charles Lee, I think those would be very, very fine hires. Kevin Ollie, though, that is definitely a risk. I wouldn't do it. I think if it doesn't work, Troy Weaver is on the microscope.
Ain't me.
Like right on the microscope, almost on the hot seat.
And that's why I wanted to pose the question, because out of these three guys, and I'll just straight up ask you, everybody listening, and I'll go around the room as well, which hire would you prefer, and which hire would you not prefer? And it's clearly to you, it's Kevin Ollie, which I think, out of the three candidates, I'd probably have him as the third best, to me at least, qualified, because of what you just said. I prefer an NBA experience, at least on a bench, an assistant coach. Jaron Collins done that. He was there with the Warriors for a while. Now he's on Willie Green's bench. Again, credited for how good defensively the Warriors were. And then you have Charles Lee, who has been an assistant coach under Budenholzer for the last decade, and then the last year he's promoted to associate head coach. So not only was he with Budenholzer all this time, but he got promoted. He's been his right-hand man. Players love him. He's well-spoken. So there's a lot of things alike. But we don't know if any of these coaches are going to be good. Let's just be honest. We don't. You're trying to look at qualifications. You're trying to look at traits of each of these guys and just weave them through. And to me, Charles Lee is my number one. But who would you not like, JB, out of these three guys? Give me one guy you prefer. Or give me your ranking, 1 through 3, between Charles Lee, Jaron Collins, and Kevin Ollie.
Well, Charles Lee is definitely number one. Then it's Collins, and of course Ollie after that. Just because if you do take a chance on Ollie, it's just like you're taking a chance. You don't know what exactly you're going to get. He's been out of the league, bouncing around here and there a lot. So it's like you're taking a chance, you're being different, but at the same time, do you really want to be different? Give me one of these two coaches that have been on championship teams, who knows what it takes to win, and bring them here to Detroit, and maybe they can instill something into these players that brings that championship mentality out of them. So give me either Jaron Collins or Charles Lee, but I don't think Charles Lee is coming here, honestly. Like, the Bucks' job is wide open. Why would you leave that spot? You got Giannis.
And just going through these comments on WoodwardSports.com, MM says, someone who knows how to win. We already have young kids who don't know how to win. We need a new voice that actually has respect and knows how to win. And you go back and you read, I forgot who it was first reported by, but what the Pistons are looking for in their head coach. Clearly defensive-minded. We all know that. It doesn't take a genius to figure that out. Championship experience preferred. And then again, they're looking at guys that are assistants under pretty good coaching staffs. Like you would say that, Charles Lee under Budenholzer for all this time has a ton of experience, top of the East. He qualifies. And then you have Jaron Collins, who defensively he qualifies, and he has a ring, along with Charles Lee. Like, both those guys have rings. And then Kevin Ollie has one, but at the collegiate level. He won an NCAA championship and was later fired years after. So just to go through this poll, which hire would you love the most? 61% of you said Charles Lee, 22% said Kevin Ollie, and 15% said Jaron Collins. So actually more in favor of Kevin Ollie. And a lot of that has to do with the resume. I mean, if you have the job description of, head of player development at Overtime Elite, I think people say, player development? And they all smile, Sam. It has to be, because besides that, it's for a guy who doesn't have any NBA experience on a bench as an assistant coach, that is concerning, especially when you're jumping right into a essential rebuild. And on an NBA roster that's ready to take the next step. Like, it's a lot of pressure. So to your point, it better work out.
It better work. It's dangerous to go after someone who's never been an NBA head coach, because to me, Jaron Collins and Charles Lee are, as just kind of like Christina Gennari, the obvious choices, or two of the obvious choices, just because of their experience as assistants on championship teams. And I think if you go after them, if you make the call to Jaron Collins and Charles Lee, and one of them accepts an offer, you can live with it no matter the results. If somehow, some way they go after Kevin Ollie, as I said, and it doesn't work, that might be the nail in Troy Weaver's coffin. That is just the reality of the situation.
I think it would be a nail in his coffin if it doesn't work regardless. Because this is besides Cade, I keep saying this is the most important decision Troy's gonna have to make. So if you're making the decision, Sam, at least bank it on somebody you're confident in with the resume. Like for you to be like, you know what? Kevin Ollie. He won it at the NCAA level. He's been out of the league for some time in terms of being a head coach. He's now with Overtime Elite. Let's just get him. Let's see if it works. I wouldn't do that, especially with the risk involved. But hey, I mean, if Troy Weaver hires him, until proven otherwise, we're gonna roll with it. But you're damn right. If it doesn't work out, Troy Weaver's going to get the brunt of it. So that's why this decision is so important, and that's why I agree with JB, Jaron Collins, and Charles Lee. Both assistants that have championships, they check a lot of boxes. And again, I want to find the next guy to be that dude. Like Will Hardy, for example, in Utah. He was an assistant for the Celtics. They hired him in Utah. Now he's a great coach. Like, I don't want to get recycled coaches or guys that are older. I want somebody that every team is chasing. And Charles Lee, over the last couple of years, has interviewed with the Jazz. He just interviewed with the Raptors. Like, sooner or later, Charles Lee will not be available. So I like guys that have others coming after him. That's just me. I like hot commodities.
Absolutely.
Am I crazy for that, Sam Flanagan?
No, you're not crazy at all. I mean, Charles Lee, I think we would all agree. I think that would be universally lauded as a slam dunk hire. I saw something funny in the chat. They said Sam Flannel wants Juwan Howard.
What do you think? Juwan Howard to the Pistons.
Absolutely.
What say you, Sam Flannel?
I don't even want him at Michigan. I've said loud and clear that I don't want him at Michigan. I think he should have been gone after last year's debacle. Hell no, I don't want him for the Pistons. No. Charles Lee, though. Charles Lee, though, is, I think, would be as universally respected and lauded of a hire as could possibly be. I think it would unite Pistons fans 100%, especially given the fact that he's going to get some run, I think, with the Milwaukee Bucks. I think he's going to at least be considered. And if somehow, some way, the Detroit Pistons can swoop in and get Charles Lee over the Milwaukee Bucks, I think this job with the Bucks is sort of almost ready-made on a silver platter for Charles Lee. If the Pistons can swoop in, I think that would add a lot of excitement to this team. And I really think that he could come in, and I know that with Cade being back, another year of Ivy, there's a lot of other factors. I think we could start talking about maybe borderline play-in.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree with you. Next year, the expectations from you contend for that play-in spot. We're going to go to break. By the way, I want to take phone calls. So I've dropped the number in the chat, 313-552-6322. Call in, whether it's about the Pistons coaching search, the NHL lottery tonight, whatever's on your mind, call in the show, and we'll talk to you. We're going to go to break. Before we go to break, actually, no, we're just going to head to break. We'll see you guys in a little bit.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids, all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
It's a great day to get some Centron in your life. Okay. There it is. Centron, here we go. Gotta grab the cranberry. Oh wait, it's 2 for $4. Gotta double up with the classic as well. Centron World, baby. Centron, available at select Krogers, and if you wanna know how, go to @CentronWorld.com. You get dope like me. You know what? Why wait? Great taste, guaranteed.
Hey, Bob, stay on hold for me, okay, man?
Woodward Avenue, the first paved road in America. Woodward Sports, the first sports network born in Detroit and made for Detroit.
Jeff Iafrate here, and let me tell you about our friends over at Ulta, because at Ulta, uptime matters. Ulta Equipment has everything you need to get the job done. If you have a big project coming up, Ulta Rent has you covered. Call them today, 844-GO-TO-ULTA. That's 844-GO-TO-ULTA today. We're back On the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network, and we're cooking. It's 8:30, halfway through the first hour. And again, guys, if you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe, like the video, and if you can't watch live, download our podcast and leave a 5-star review available everywhere you listen to your podcast, whether it's Apple, whether it's Spotify, and if you're on woodwardsports.com, don't forget, just because you're watching the stream, we still got the latest news, all the articles, updates, show clips, and merchandise. Go check all that out. JB, who do we got on the phone lines?
Let me send you Daryl first.
Daryl. Well, what's going on, Daryl? What do you want to discuss?
Hey, bro. How you doing? Hey, Jeff. Hey, Sam. How you guys doing?
Good, good. What's on your mind?
Good. Now, first off, I want to give JB kudos, because remember I was messing around with him with the Darrell thing in the past. He's never came back at me, and he's standing behind the mic. And you guys really screwed him over with that Seattle draft thing, and he pulled through like nobody else could pull it through. So I got to give kudos on that.
JB's the
I
goat.
got to give kudos to your producer with the beauty behind the mic. You went from Maddie to Gabby, and nobody can do anything better than that. So that's awesome. Now, the question I got is, with the Lions, we hear that Brad's getting credit and Dan's getting credit. Did Brad bring his whole scouting crew over with him from L.A.? They never get the credit. I understand that the coaches are out there analyzing the players, but the scouting system, the team seems so much better. Is it the same scouts, or did he bring his own crew with him?
I think it's a mix of both. He definitely took some guys from L.A. Again, if you go back and you watch Inside the Den, which the Lions do a great job at, by the way, it's on their YouTube channel, you find out little nuggets that the average fan doesn't know. For example, Kirby Joseph wasn't even Brad Holmes' guy. It was one of his assistant GMs or one of the scouts guys. So, again, to your point, I think those guys don't really get talked about enough. It's always Brad gets the credit, which deservedly so. He makes the selection. But you're right. It's right. A team effort. These guys all put in work. They put in countless hours to go out and scout all these prospects. And it was awesome seeing one of the scouts last year when Kirby got drafted throw his fist up. Like, finally, all the hard work, all the pushing and the selling I've done for Kirby paid off. But you're right. It's not just Brad, but Brad's the head of the operation. So, of course, he's going to get a majority of the credit.
That's cool. All right. Thanks, guys. Love the show, and have a good day.
Yeah, appreciate it, Daryl. Take care. See, and that's always funny, too, because I feel like that's what it is with a lot of guys. Like, even with Brad Holmes when he worked with Les Snead. I mean, Les Snead's, of course, going to get all the credit. Like, that's why when an organization like the Lions hire Brad Holmes, and he turns out to be a great GM so far, you're like, oh, wow. This guy was just sitting, downstairs in Les Snead's basement, and now he's doing a great job for the Lions. So scouts don't get enough credit. Brad's got a lot of great guys working for him. JB, who do we got, Wade?
Here, I will send you guys Bob.
Bob. What's going on, Bob? What do you want to discuss? Welcome to the show. All right. Bob is...
Bobby.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yes. We can hear you, Bob.
Oh, my name's Vaughn, not Bob. I didn't know he sent me through.
You said... Wait, what was your name? Sorry.
It's Vaughn, not Bob.
Vaughn.
Oh, Vaughn. Okay, Vaughn. Sorry about that, Vaughn. What do you want to discuss, my man?
Yeah, man. I just wanted to discuss just the Lions and how they drafted and everything, and just some of the concerns people got. Especially, there's a lot of controversy with the Lions not picking up Jalen Carter, but and people saying, okay, well, if Jalen Carter turns out to be a hit, then that's a mispick on the Detroit Lions and everything. And to that, I just wanted to say that I expect Jalen Carter to be a beast. Honestly, I do, but I think that the best landing place for him to revitalize him was Philly. And just because you see somebody go be a beast somewhere else, it does not mean that's a missed pick for you guys. It has to be a system fit. It has to be somebody that your regime can coach up and do right by. And I don't think that was the thing for the Lions. Nobody can deny Jalen Carter's talent, but I don't think that with Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell, with the guys they have right now, that's not what they have in place for him to succeed. The best place for him was Philly, with his ex-teammates and everything that helped keep him in line. And, a lot of people look at it like, oh, okay, well, Philly got a lot to lose, so the Lions definitely should have took him. But, the best spot for him was Philly, so I don't want anybody to be shocked or start doubting Brad Holmes just because they didn't take him. That was just the best place for him, and it has to be a system fit.
Yeah, it's a great point.
You know what? I'm not going to lie, Vaughn. I'm going to be watching Jalen Carter's career very, very closely because to this day, even though this draft has definitely sat well with me as it all played out and I understand what they were doing, if it were me, even now, I would have stood pat and taken Jalen Carter just because I think he was one of two generational type prospects in this draft, and defensive line was obviously one of the biggest needs of the Detroit Lions. So I'm going to be watching him. I get what you're saying, but there's always going to be a part of me that it doesn't sit right with me that the Lions had concerns, that they were just kind of like, we don't want this guy, but the team that if they don't make the Super Bowl, it will be considered a failed season. We're just like, we'll take him. Why don't the Lions go after a guy who's generationally talented but has some concerns? I think that, I'll be honest, if Jalen Carter succeeds, and for some reason I hope it's not the case that guys like Jahmyr Gibbs and Jack Campbell don't look as good, I'm going to have some questions. I think that might be a maybe small to big black mark on Brad Holmes' legacy. I'm not calling for it or anything. I just think when you pass up on one of the better defensive line prospects in the past 5 or 10 years, it's a risk. I think he's going to be a good player, though.
Well, I'll give you one example real quick. I'm not going to hold you guys up. I know other people call it. But, I mean, you just got to look all around the NFL and just look at different situations. I mean, you know what I mean? Like Patrick Mahomes, to me, he's the best quarterback ever. I don't think we have to wait on that. But you got to just think, would he be Patrick Mahomes if, you know what I mean, if maybe he was under Bob Quinn, you know what I mean, and that whole regime, if Patrick Mahomes went to the Lions, would he still be the same Pat Mahomes? Or would he would still be talented, but, you know, would he be a lesser version of that? And, you know, where you go is just super important. And, you know, Pat Mahomes didn't even go first in his draft class.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It was other guys that they thought those other teams thought would be better, and they were wrong. You know what I mean? It's all about a system fit. So, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily just say that, okay, well, since if we took Jalen Carter, it would be the same result. We would be in the NFC Championship. We would have the number one D-line. I mean, you put the same player anywhere else, they not going to have the same career. Like, you know, and I felt that way about Sauce Gardner. Like, if you would have put Sauce Gardner under Aubrey Pleasant and that Lions regime, would he still have been that same Sauce Gardner? He could have been good, but probably not what he is today.
Yeah,
you know?
You're spot on, and that's why I've been kind of just letting you speak, because I completely agree with you. Even though I've advocated big time for Jalen Carter, I think we can all admit that in Philly, like where he is right now with former teammates and even veterans on that defensive line, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, like, yeah. I mean, if he goes off and has a great career, of course I'm going to be upset. But to your point, Vaughn, I mean, it also has to do with the situation he's in. You know, it has a lot to do with the veterans he's going to have, the former teammates he's going to have, a team that has Super Bowl expectations. Like, there's not a lot of room for him to slack. So I get it. It's going to be different. But, man, it's going to be hard not to watch Jalen Carter and be like, I'm okay with passing on him. But thanks for the call, Vaughn, man. I love it, man. Dropping facts. I appreciate it.
Thanks, man. I've been trying to get in for a while, man. Appreciate y'all.
Oh, no problem.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think I have to agree. I agree with Vaughn, and I think I disagree with Flannel a little bit. I don't think it's necessarily that they saw the risk and were like, oh, it's not worth it for us. They could have had a conversation with him and realized that it wasn't going to be a good fit for him and that there was a better spot for him. We don't know those conversations that were happening behind the doors. They could have seen that, look, yes, he's a good person, he's a good player, but we are not going to be able to give him what he needs here. There's a better fit. And let's make that happen for him. Mm-hmm. Whether that happened or not, we're not going to know. But I don't know necessarily if it was just, he's not worth it for us.
And, you know, in Philly, although it's tough, man. Like, it's a tough pill to swallow. We kind of talked about that. And even on draft night when we had the show, I mean, it was upsetting for everybody. Me and Neil Rule were right next to each other, pretty much drinking to the fact that we thought we were getting Jalen Carter. So trust me, it's been tough. But Gabby makes a great point. I mean, the situation he's in right now in Philly is much better, far greater, because of who's around him. Again, but the best point you make is a team with those odds, with those expectations, can say, come on in, Jalen Carter. With no, like, didn't even hesitate. They traded up and grabbed him. So I think there's an argument for both sides.
And to be fair, I kind of stole that point a little bit from Neil Rule. I just agreed with him 100%.
And he's right. I mean, it's a good point.
Well, and here's the thing. At this point, what's done is done. I hope that Jalen Carter goes to the Philadelphia Eagles at this point and is a bust. I'll be honest. I like him as a player, but go to the Philadelphia Eagles. I hope that he goes there, flames out.
There
and
you
we're
go.
Just like,
there's the Lions fan coming out.
Yes, and we're just like, we dodged a bullet. I hope that Jahmyr Gibbs becomes one of the best backs in the league, and I hope that Jack Campbell turns into one of the best linebackers in the league. I hope that all happens.
Yeah.
I just think the Philadelphia Eagles, the best team in the NFC, might have gotten the best player in the draft at number 9. I just hope to God it doesn't work out for the Eagles, because that would just be so unfair.
Just close your eyes and convince yourself that we got Barry Sanders and we'll just roll with that. We got Barry Sanders.
We
All right,
got
move on.
Alvin Kamara and Luke Kuechly.
Yeah, okay. That sounds a lot better, Sam. Who do we got, JB? Send him through.
All right, I will send you guys Elijah.
Elijah, welcome to the show, my man. What do you want to discuss?
What's going on, Jeff? Man, it was good talking to you at the draft party, man. That was a very good party for y'all,
Yes,
man.
sir. Appreciate you coming through.
Yeah, so I want to talk about the Piston head coaching search for a minute.
Yep.
I actually like Kevin Ollie. I actually recently read a few articles that was written about him, and they had Kevin Durant talking about how he was a leader of men when they was in Oklahoma City, and he pretty much taught the whole young roster how to be professionals and how to prepare for games and everything. And I think it's something about players like Kevin Ollie that was in the league. You know, like he reminds me a lot of Udoka. You know, they was role players that didn't get a lot of minutes, but they wind up, you know, staying close to the coaches, helping these young guys become men, and helping them transform into superstars, because I think that's very important to have vets and leaders who don't have big roles to just clinch onto them young superstars and show them the ropes and everything. And I think that's how you can become a great head coach in the league. And I think that I also saw LeBron. I don't remember what team Ollie was playing with LeBron on, but LeBron had the same type of energy, saying that he was a great leader and someone that he looked up in the locker room a lot. So I think we can possibly strike a Udoka with him, possibly. You know, you just never know, but I think, you know, he was a great coach in college, so I think if he would have kept coaching, he would have been a head coach by now anyway.
And that's probably, by the way, great points about Kevin Ollie. And I think the more another impressive part of Kevin Ollie is the fact that he came in for an interview and blew Troy Weaver so far away that he got a second interview. Like, he just came in as kind of like the, you know, Kevin Ollie, you can get an interview. And now he's already in the finalists. So that shows a lot about who he is as a person. But to your point, he played with LeBron James in 03-04. So, again, he has experience there as a player. To your point, as a role player. But still, there's value in that. And you can see all three coaches, former players. So that's clearly a theme they're aiming for. In Kevin Ollie having experience at the NCAA level, although you could look at that as a plus, I tend to, it scares me away a little more, Elijah, if I'm being honest with you, because I like a coach who has been just absolved in the NBA for a while and just knows it. I know Kevin Ollie knows how the NBA works, but he hasn't even been on an NBA bench as a coach. Does that not scare you a little bit, Elijah?
I don't think so. I think, like I said, I think he's been coaching when he was a role player. You know, that's part of coaching. You know, he probably was going over film with LeBron and the young Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. Like, I'm pretty sure he helped coach those guys up in practice. And
right,
like I said, I think the most important thing from a head coach is you got to be a leader of men, especially with a young roster like we have. So I think that if he's a leader of men, like, our team is very talented. So I'm not really too worried about who will be the head coach. You know, we got K, Ivy, Duran. We got a top pick coming. So I'm pretty sure, like, the head coach, whoever it is going to have a lot easier time. He's going to have an easier transition to being a head coach, whether it's a first-year coach or they go for a vet like Mike Budenholzer. You know, so I'm not really too worried, but I do think that if you're a leader of men, then that's pretty much the biggest quality I'm looking for right now.
No doubt about it. Appreciate you calling, Elijah, man. You're welcome back anytime.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna head to break. When we get back, I want to get more talk about the NBA playoffs a little bit because some action happened. We kind of covered a little bit in the first segment, but just kind of recap it all and talk about who we got coming out of the East and West. We're gonna go to break. I'll see you guys in a little bit. Don't forget, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. We'll see you in a second.
How would you like to win not one, but 2 vehicles of your choice? One for you and one for your wife, your girlfriend, or your best bud. Get to Lady Jane's today for an award-winning haircut and automatically enter for your chance to win. Courtesy of Les Stanford Buick GMC of Ferndale. Lady Jane's, open 7 days a week, walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
Introducing the Planet Fitness Guide to getting that post-workout glow. Step 1, what's your why? More epic energy, better sleep, blow off steam? Step 2, join Planet Fitness for just $10 a month and get moving in our clean and spacious clubs. Step 3, bask in that post-workout glow. Join Planet Fitness today for just $10 a month.
Join today at any of the 50-plus Detroit area locations.
Make sure it's seen and heard. Corner, jumper, tweet us, hop on the YouTube chat, slide in the DMS at Woodward Sports on all social media.
It's a new year. Let Guardian Alarm offer you customized solutions from real experts, 24/7 professional monitoring, and technology backed by people. Your safety and security deserves not only technology that's been proven to work, but by people that have been proven to care. Call 1-800-STAY-OUT for more information. We're back here, coming into the second hour on the Morning Woodward Show, woodwardsports.com. Subscribe if you're watching live here on YouTube, but if you're watching on the website, which you should be, don't forget, check out all the latest news, articles, updates, show clips, and merchandise. And if you can't watch the show live, it's all right. You can listen to the show on any podcast app you listen to, Apple, Spotify. Leave a 5-star review, especially for our guy, Sam Flannel, who's filling in for Adam Beydoun, who is out today. He is not feeling well. But Sam, NBA playoffs are upon us. I know you caught the game last night. Jokic got a tech after he made contact with new Suns owner, Matt Ishbia. What are your thoughts on, we'll just start with that series alone. You have the Denver Nuggets. They were up 2-0 on the Suns in a miraculous performance back-to-back by KD and Devin Booker. Basically reeled them back into the series. I believe those two are breaking records for duo in what they've been scoring as a duo. I mean, every night you're seeing KD and Devin play well, but the worry I have is that's really only the two that are playing well. DeAndre Ayton has played all right. Chris Paul has been inconsistent, but still, for the most part, what's your confidence level in the newly made Suns team now tied 2-2 with the Nuggets?
The question with the Suns, and I think this is a legitimate conversation, is did Devin Booker all of a sudden turn into one of the 10 best NBA players ever? I would argue the way he's been playing in this playoffs, he's averaging 37 a game on over 60% from the floor and 50% from three while shooting a ton of jump shots. He is him. He is him. He's having a playoff run that is reminiscent of those phenomenal Michael Jordan runs or those phenomenal LeBron James type of runs where he just takes over. And Kevin Durant, he's not that far behind. We all know that Kevin Durant, when you talk about plug-and-play offensive weapons, there's never been anyone in the history of the NBA that is better. Just ask the 2017 and 2018 Warriors, who Steph Curry fans give no credit to, but I digress on that one. The Phoenix, I would still probably take the Nuggets in this one just because Nikola Jokic is playing out of his mind. He's also another one who is just having his coming out party. Jamal Murray, if he can consistently hit shots, and Michael Porter. I think that I don't know if the Suns will be able to win on the road, and I don't know if Devin Booker is going to be able to keep this up. You obviously worry about Chris Paul's injury. DeAndre Ayton is just kind of...
Yeah, it's like, if Chris Paul's injured, oh, it's Monday. Like,
yeah.
What are we doing here? That's probably the least surprising thing when I saw Chris Paul was going to be missing the game because of a groin issue. Like, by the way, this groin issue for Chris Paul has been an issue for like 4 years. I'm not shocked there. But to see Devin Booker score 36... 14 of 18 shooting the last game. What was he, 20 of 25 from the field? And then now you have Kevin Durant who had another 36, a 36-piece for KD and Booker to wheel them, I mean, into a victory. Shout out to Shamet, by the way, who was 19 points. He 5 for 8 from 3. They're going to need that consistently because, again, Sam, that's my worry about this Suns team, and this is why I'm still going to stay with the Nuggets because Jokic had 50. So we can't just slide over that. I mean, Jokic is still playing well, and I think the Nuggets are a deeper team in terms of they have multiple guys that can go get theirs. If it's not Jokic, it could be Murray, who had 28 last night, who needs to play better. He played well against Minnesota, but again, he's been not the all Jamal Murray we know, but still, we know what he can be. Caldwell Pope is solid. They got Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, even off their bench, Bruce Brown. They got pieces, and they're the deeper team, but in the playoffs, Sam, sometimes it's about go get a bucket. Yeah. And the Suns have two guys that can go get a bucket whenever you need it.
And that's the thing. On paper, the Nuggets should win, especially if Chris Paul, I think he's out for Game 5 as well. And even if he does come back, he is not going to be 100% on top of the fact that he's already old and getting to the point where he's becoming on the lower end of being washed up. And the Suns are definitely not as deep as the Nuggets. But we keep saying, if Devin Booker keeps playing like this, which seems impossible, but who knows? And Kevin Durant is one of those non-negotiable type players. He is one of the most incredible offensive weapons in the history of the NBA. He is absolutely unguardable. And if his shot is falling, he alone could go for like 45 or 50 on ridiculous efficiency and carry this team to wins. I would still take the Nuggets, but they're another team, the Phoenix Suns. The report of their demise, and Michael Gentry, our friend Michael Gentry, mentioned this in the chat, who was also for the Suns in this series. Weren't they supposed to just lay over and die? They did not. They evened up this series. They protected their home court. We'll see what happens. I don't know if they can win at Denver.
That's the question. Is okay, you tied the series up. And for all the people who, like Michael Gentry, who I love very much, who's like, yeah, you guys counted out the Suns. It's 2-2. Okay, they haven't won the series yet. They still got to win the series, and I'm still going to stick with the Nuggets because I think they're deeper. But again, I was high on the Suns. I just think it's too early. Kevin Durant's under contract. I mean, they have a bright future regardless with Devin and KD. But to get KD at the trade deadline and now they just make it to the finals, that would be impressive. For him to just drop down the Suns, I mean, that if anything, that boosts KD's legacy a little bit because what he would do to the Suns instantly like that, even with all the depth they lack and Chris Paul on one leg, and they get to the finals, Devin Booker and KD, they're going to be a problem. But I want to shift the series. Let's talk about the Lakers. Lakers and the Warriors. And listen, me and Sam are on today. You know we had to get to LeBron. That was happening. You can't run from it. You can't hide from it. 127-97. Lakers take care of the Warriors. They're up 2-1 right now in the series. Next game's in LA. What are your thoughts, Sam Flannel? If you're, we'll talk from both perspectives. If you're a Lakers fan, you confident, or are you weary right now? Because you blew out the Warriors, but it's still the Warriors, and you're only up 2-1.
And I'm always weary of the Warriors, no matter what. I'm obviously a lot more confident. I know a lot of people after Game 2, I think, overreacted in favor of the Warriors. The bottom line is that in the playoffs, and I know a lot of people gave Anthony Davis a lot of flack for Game 2, and he 100% deserved it. The funny thing about the playoffs, though, is you can have a bad game or two in a series as long as you make up for it in other games, which Anthony Davis certainly did in Game 3. And in Game 3, we all know if D'Angelo Russell is making shots consistently, it's over because that's a guy that can get as hot as fish grease, but can also get as cold as Antarctica, and that's
very different things.
Those are very different things, and that's what you worry about. The thing that I noticed on Twitter, and this is the stuff that drives me crazy
Twitter.
About Steph Curry fans. Can you all just take an L without blaming the refs or something, or Steve Kerr or something? Y'all lost by 30, and all I keep hearing about is the refs. You shot less than 30% from three. The NBA will be a better place when Steph Curry and his fans kindly fuck off. Seriously. You know why that is?
Stop it.
You guys...
Stop it. Get some help.
Steph Curry fans are just so damn insecure because you have no numbers. LeBron has 13 All-NBA first team. Steph Curry has 4. LeBron James has 4 Finals MVPs. Steph Curry has 1. LeBron James has 4 regular season MVP. Steph Curry has 2. LeBron James in final series in which they faced each other is averaging 33, 12, and 9. Steph Curry 25, 6, and 6. There has never been a time when they have played each other in the finals that Steph Curry has outplayed LeBron James. Not once. It has never happened. I hope to God, and I know I kind of went off on a rant. But
and by the way, I had no idea that was coming. All right,
glad you got that off your chest.
Thank you.
I had no idea that Sam woke up this morning ready to kill another legend. I didn't know. I knew how you feel about Steph Curry. I know how you feel. I know what your opinion is, but I didn't know that was coming. I'm going to be honest. And even me, like, we see eye to eye with LeBron. You're a little more harder on Curry than I am. I just don't like when they bring up Curry with the Warriors championship runs and try and tell me that he was a better player than Kevin Durant, which the man who sits in that chair weekdays typically tries to, and he's incorrect every single time. But wow, Sam, R.I.P. Steph Curry. I mean, you just completely demolished him there. I want to get to some of these comments. Yeah, there you go. That's what we need right now. Broder says the legend killer is back. Jack says Sam equals a LeBron lover. I guess you'd count me in there because we both love LeBron. John Lord, come on, Jeff, protect your man. I mean, listen. It's your opinion. You did say, the world would be much better if Steph Curry fans would just F off. But I guess Steph Curry fans would say the same thing about LeBron fans, because Twitter in itself is just a terrible place to go to and try and actually get any opinions. So a lot of interesting individuals on Twitter.
And for the record, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, to me, Steph Curry is the 11th best NBA player of all time and the clear second best point guard, even above one of our favorite heroes, Isaiah Thomas. Steph Curry has earned that. And God, this would make me like vomit all over this desk. If somehow the Warriors can win and Steph Curry wins another Finals MVP.
He's the best point guard?
No, but he is firmly in the top 10. He passes guys like Hakeem Olajuwon and Shaq, and he's approaching guys like Larry Bird and Tim Duncan, and I fully admit that. But he ain't nowhere near LeBron. He will never get near LeBron. What he needs to do to pass LeBron is win, 4 consecutive Finals MVPs at this point. It's not going to happen. And that's the thing that drives me crazy.
Yeah, and that's the scary part of this whole thing. I want to read some of these comments. Charles said, I said Warriors and Celtics from the opening of the season. Sticking with that, Denver 7, Warriors in 7. Solid, Charles. Shad says Curry fans consist of little kids and middle-aged moms.
And by the way, Jeff,
that is actually very true, Sean. I don't think people think about that enough. Curry fans consist of little kids and middle-aged moms. I see more little kids wearing Curry shoes and middle-aged moms talking about Curry than I think ever.
And do you know what drives me crazy, too, about Steph Curry and his fans? And I know you get this, too. People act like he's humble and that he's just kind of like the humble superstar. I'm not saying that he's a bad guy, but nobody is a bigger hot dog, shimmier, night, even when he hits like a dagger when they're already up by 6. Nobody does more of that showboating stuff than Steph Curry, but it's allowed because he's cute, he's little, he's adorable, and that's why he's not held to the same standards as guys like LeBron James. And by the way, Steph Curry, one other thing. Put the mouth guard back in your mouth. I don't care if it's a timeout. I'm so tired of watching you chew on that fucking thing. Stop it. Go away. Be gone.
What the hell? All right. I'm going to be honest. Okay. I need to get this clear. He's sitting in Adam's seat. Nobody in this room told him to. This is just the seat he's sitting in. The seat that Adam sits in brings out. D-Mac sits in that seat. Like, it brings out a lot of energy, whoever sits in that seat. So I promise you, this was not planned. This is completely off the top. And by the way, Booner, who wants to just chime in and say we're the biggest Steph haters, you got to watch the show, my man. I mean, I did not hate on Steph once, so I don't know what you're talking about.
11th best NBA player ever.
Listen, let me tell you about Big Boy, because that's way more important than anything we're talking about right now. Strawberry Fest is officially back at Big Boy. You can try classic breakfast items like some strawberry hot cakes or mouth-watering red velvet waffles. But if you're not feeling breakfast, try the strawberry bacon chicken wrap or cool off with their refreshing summer splash salad. And don't forget to grab dessert as well, including their very delicious classic strawberry pie, deep fried vanilla Oreos, or strawberry hot fudge cake, and more at Big Boy.
How would you like to win not one, but 2 vehicles of your choice? One for you and one for your wife, your girlfriend, or your best bud. Get to Lady Jane's today for an award-winning haircut and automatically enter for your chance to win. Courtesy of Les Stanford Buick GMC of Ferndale. Lady Jane's, open 7 days a week, walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
Since the dawn of moving people, Chevrolet has led the way. The world of transportation is changing. At Feldman Chevrolet, we are leading the charge forward. With every electric vehicle, every mile traveled, one Feldman at a time. The company that puts more Chevys on Michigan roads is now the #1 name for Chevy electric vehicles.
We are the network for Detroit by Detroiters. Welcome to the Woodward Sports Network.
Today, I will be drinking Cintron all the way throughout the day to get me to the NHL Draft Lottery tonight. And that is because Cintron is the official energy drink of the Detroit Red Wings. And right now, they have an exclusive offer for Woodward Sports listeners. If you go to drinkcintron.com/Woodward, you can get a $15 variety pack. That's a six variety pack for $15 with free shipping if you go to drinkcintron.com/Woodward.
Morning Woodward Show. We are back here on the Woodward Sports Network, woodwardsports.com. Guys, all of you listening or watching live on woodwardsports.com or our YouTube channel at Woodward Sports, subscribe. And if you can't watch live, download our podcast, leave a 5-star review. And as always, it's available everywhere, Apple, Spotify, wherever you watch. And if you're on woodwardsports.com, don't forget to check out the latest news, articles, updates, and show clips and merchandise. I mean, we got it all at woodwardsports.com. Let's get into some NFL talk, Sam. And I have a question to pose, actually, and this goes to the audience as well. DeAndre Swift, who was just traded to the Philadelphia Eagles, now will wear number 0 in Philly. He's from Pennsylvania. He's from Philadelphia, specifically. Went to high school there. Howie Roseman, very familiar with him. And I think when people think of DeAndre and his career in Detroit, when he was first drafted, it was excitement. I mean, I like DeAndre coming out of college. We looked at him as somebody that could be a dual threat, somebody who's just as a threat in the passing game. And then, things happen, right? And with new information, as Neil always says, what, Sam, you're allowed to change
your opinion.
Absolutely. And with DeAndre Swift in Detroit, he's been banged up. And even when he's not banged up, he's banged up. So even when he's playing, he's on a snap count, and you've seen tremendous flashes out of DeAndre. We know he's talented. But there's a difference between being talented and actually doing it, right? You can look at a player and say, man, he's got a lot of talent, but they actually have to go out and prove it. DeAndre now will have an opportunity in Philly. But I have a question. Will DeAndre Swift haunt the Lions? And what I mean by that is he's in a contract year. If DeAndre Swift goes out to Philly, Sam, and stays healthy and has a great year, how will you feel about it?
I won't think much of it, and here's why. Because DeAndre Swift, for all of the... And trust me, I was on the DeAndre Swift hype train before the season, but my opinion on him has shifted to the other end of the spectrum, because now, with DeAndre Swift, you hear a lot about, he wasn't healthy very often, and that is very, very true. But what you also hear about a healthy DeAndre Swift, he's one of the best backs in the league. And I say to that, based on what? I know a lot of people probably don't know this, but do you know how many times that DeAndre Swift rushed for 100 yards in a game as a member of the Detroit Lions? 4 times in 3 seasons. His career high in rushing yards in a season is 617. And we talk about him as a pass catcher out of the backfield. His career high for receiving yards in a season is 452. Here is why the Lions will not miss DeAndre Swift no matter what he does in Philadelphia. It's because... and I'm calling for this right now, Jahmyr Gibbs will have better numbers this season than DeAndre Swift ever had in his season.
Wow.
And that's not even saying that much. Do you think he can get more than 617 rushing yards this year and 452 receiving yards?
I think that could be his rookie year numbers,
That's
to be
not
honest with you.
And the thing is, and that speaks to the fact that that's not even that hard. A replacement level back can go in and do that. And those were DeAndre Swift's career highs. So I'm getting a little bit done with the talk of, when he was healthy, he was one of the best backs in the league. Well, yeah, he also had a 5-game stretch last season in which he carried the ball 23 times for 61 yards. And people were still making excuses for him, like, we need to make sure he's healthy for the stretch run. There is no excuse in which your running back, who was supposed to come in as the starter, has a 5-game stretch in which he basically averages 12 yards rushing per game on 23 carries. It is unacceptable. And I think the Philadelphia Eagles, they will see a lot of what the Detroit Lions saw with DeAndre Swift. I know that he's going to a better offensive line, which is the Lions' strength, but the Philadelphia Eagles offensive line is even better. And I think he's probably going to be RB1, at least as of right now. They got rid of Miles Sanders.
They got Rashad Penny.
They do have Rashad Penny. I think
Which him and Rashad Penny live on IR a lot of times.
They do.
That'll be interesting.
That's a strange one. So to me, I don't really care what DeAndre Swift does because I think, and I had some skepticism about the Jahmyr Gibbs pick, I think year one, he is going to get more than 617 rushing yards and 452 receiving yards. That's just going to happen if he stays healthy.
And I think that's fair. I put a poll in the chat, WoodwardSports.com, will DeAndre Swift haunt the Lions? And what I mean by that is, what if you're in a situation, a potential situation? I know nobody wants to bring this up, but I'm going to pose the situation, and I want to see how you guys react to it. You play Philly in the postseason, and you have DeAndre Swift lined up. And let's say DeAndre has a great game. All right? And he sends the Lions home. Not him alone, but he has a great game. The Eagles beat the Lions. How do you think Lions fans will react to that? Do you think it'll be, for the most part, well, he didn't work out in Detroit. We got Jahmyr Gibbs. And I think the only way this works is if Jahmyr turns out to be a great player. Because, again, you're drafting him at 12. Of course you want him to be a great player. Of course you want him to be healthy. How nervous will Lions fans be if you line up and you're facing DeAndre Swift in the postseason? Not saying he's a superstar back, but again, Josh Jacobs was pretty much mid until his contract year, and now he got franchise tagged again. But typically, for whatever reason, guys in contract years just perform. There's a lot more pressure. Who knows with DeAndre? But Sam, you line up against that offensive line with those weapons, with Jalen Hurts, that's probably your number one fear. But then you got DeAndre in the back. Like, there's got to be a part of Lions fans that think, oh, God, I hope DeAndre doesn't just rush for a $140 because he played the Eagles last year, and he got a $140 in 15 carries.
Now, I'm just going to ignore the fact that you compared DeAndre Swift to Josh Jacobs, use them in the same sentence. But you know what? That's not what the conversation is about. And, Jeff, you know what? You may have got me there, because if that actually occurs, if the Eagles are playing the Lions and DeAndre in the playoffs and DeAndre Swift rushes for over 100 yards, maybe makes a big catch out of the backfield.
And listen, you were high on DeAndre last year.
I absolutely was. If he does that, then yeah, there will be a little bit of, what could have been, why couldn't you have done that here, sort of thing. But I guess my point of it all is that DeAndre Swift, the Lions weren't going to pay him.
No.
He hadn't earned anything other than what he got, which was traded. And I don't think there's ever going to be any regrets. But you did get me there. If DeAndre Swift helps send the Lions home in the playoffs, of course, I'm a human being. I'm a Lions fan. What am I gonna say? Like, we didn't need him anyway? No, I'm gonna be like, come on, man, why didn't you do that here?
Especially you, Sam, who said he'd lead the NFC in rushing last year. You're like, damn it, I'm a season late. JB, what do you think? Will DeAndre? But you think there's a scenario where he can haunt Lions fans?
No, I don't believe so. As you guys said.
So this is an ex-girlfriend that you're moving on from?
Yeah. Like I said, he's in the rear view. You're not looking back to see, hey, how you doing? Calling anytime like that. No. He's in the rear view. It's all dead and gone. So now you're just looking for the future. What's going to happen? And as you guys said, Rashad Penny and him both kind of stay on IR. So it's going to be a very interesting situation over there in Philly. I do think they'll probably use him as the workhorse the majority of the season. But I think when it gets to postseason, playoffs, he's going to be very, very limited. And he is going to be iced up and not available a lot of those times. So it's like, hey, you got what you paid for. So there you go.
And again, you're not sending that you up text, right? This is over.
No.
Yeah, DeAndre's in Philly. You're turning the page. You got Jahmyr Gibbs.
You might get a Christmas card here and there.
Maybe.
That's it.
Maybe. And I want to address some of these comments because, again, I think it was kind of misinterpreted what I was trying to say. Chuck says, if Philly beats us in the playoffs, it will not be because of Swift. And I'm not saying it will be. Because, again, like I said, when you look at the Eagles, what you're game planning for on offense, number one, you're looking at A.J. Brown. You're looking at Jalen Hurts, Devonta Smith. You're looking at Dallas Goedert. You're looking at, like, 4 guys. And then you get to the offensive line. Then Swift. Like, I'm not saying Swift would be the sole reason, but you never know. Swift could have one of those games against the Lions, and I'm not counting that out at all. JB, we got anybody on the line? Can you send him through?
Yep, we do. Here, I will send you guys Riley.
Let's take some calls. Riley, welcome to the show. What do you want to discuss?
Hey guys, big time listener. Love you guys. I wish I had your job. I really do, man. I really do.
I appreciate that. Thanks for listening. We appreciate the support.
Yeah, man, no problem. I just, I had a take I wanted to get out because again, I wish I did what you did, but and I want to get this out, and I wanted to say something about Hendon Hooker. Okay, it's more than just the man It's the player, you know what I'm saying? But beyond him, too, it's Brad Holmes, and I'm stuttering a little bit because I'm nervous. I just love you guys so much. Oh, God. Oh, Leon, here it goes. Listen. Brad Holmes is going to replace Jared Goff with Hendon Hooker. Brad Holmes is a villain. We've seen him wear it on a sweatshirt and parade it all over the NFL Network. And don't tell me no, because here, look at the characteristics of Brad Holmes. He's a true villain, all right? Announced it on the TV, like the heavyweight said, all right? CJ DJ, it was a celebration, a parade inside my city when we got him, right? And then they drafted Branch to take his place. Swift, you're talking about him right now. He was the most explosive guy in that offense last year, arguably, outside of Jamison Williams and limited action. DeAndre Swift was then replaced by Jahmyr Gibbs. Jamal Williams, the heartbeat of the team, was replaced by David Montgomery. TJ Hawkinson, top 10 tight end in the league, replaced by Sam Laporta. This year, Brad Holmes, he's letting you know JG's on the clock. This is easy. Just trying to do different voices right now. But I just want to call in and fuck you guys. I love you.
Well, easy. Thank you.
I know nobody loved us that much.
No, I'm going to be honest. Listen, when you actually started off the first time, I was like, wow, this guy, he has a good voice.
You have me fooled.
Yeah, your fake, like, I don't know what that was, your broadcaster voice. That was pretty good, man. I can't lie.
I was driving. I couldn't think of like a character to do, but people in the chat
hey, but by the way, Easy, to talk about your point right now about Hendon Hooker, I think when people bring up Hendon and what kind of leverage that brings Brad Holmes when you're negotiating with Jared Goff, I tend to make the point, I think it does bring leverage because me and Adam have this argument all the time, and he would argue, well, no, it doesn't because you don't know what you have in Hendon, but I would argue, well, he was a projected first-round pick, Easy. If you're taking a guy who has that type of value in the class, it has to bring leverage to the table, does it not?
No, it absolutely does, and I think that like this year, like it was strategic. Hendon Hooker was strategically drafted one because obviously there is some upside there, but also yeah, he is a little bit older, so I feel like he's more ready to take over offense in that situation. And if they can't come to terms on a contract, then like they're fully prepared to move on to Hendon Hooker. I mean, not fully prepared, but they're at least they have the contingency in place. Like I think it's really dependent on how Hendon looks this year, both in practice. And I know that J-Mo took a little while to come back from his ACL. A lot of people are saying the same thing about Hendon, but Hendon tore his ACL 2 months earlier in November. J-Mo did his in January after a playoff game. There are different scenarios there too.
Mm-hmm. No, you're spot on, man. I appreciate you calling, bro. And check out Heavyweights, by the way, 5 to 7 every single day. Spence and Easy, they do a great job. But appreciate you calling, Easy, dropping some facts.
Easy.
Or Riley, whatever I should
love
call
you guys. Big fans.
Oh God.
Big fans.
All right. This is you see what we have to deal with here. All right, the Heavyweights, man, they're a lot of fun. Go check those guys out. They do great work.
That took me a while to put together that was him.
Yeah, he came in. Oh, I'm so nervous. I'm like, okay, this is definitely, this is definitely not Riley.
I had to piece those two together. I'm like, wait a minute.
JB, he got you.
Didn't know?
He got you too.
He got me.
See, JB, if you get past JB, then now that's good. Not too many people get past JB. Here on Mark says Swifty would get shot up with whatever he feels. No pain to play against the Lions to let it rip. Hey, listen, and this is the thing about injuries. They're so unpredictable. Like, if we're being real, like Jahmyr Gibbs, as much as I love what he can do as an offensive weapon, can I sit up here, Sam, and say he won't get injured? I don't know.
Of course not.
Because DeAndre Swift coming out was the running back with the least amount of workload. Jonathan Taylor, right? He's been injured more than Jonathan Taylor. And Jonathan Taylor, if you watched him at Wisconsin, had a ton of carries at Wisconsin. That was the biggest knock. Don't draft Jonathan Taylor. He's just way too many miles already. Well, looking back, wish I would have had Jonathan Taylor. I think we can all mutually say
he was a
that.
bell cow in college, and he's a bell cow now. One of kind of part of a relic of times past. You know what I mean? Yeah.
It's the same argument. So again, we really don't know, but kind of like what you said earlier about Jalen Carter. Now that he's not a Lion, who cares? So good riddance. Good luck in Philly. Hopefully he's not the sole reason we lose a playoff game, but we shall see. Big Show Pick says, did the Lions mess up not getting a 5th-year contract with Hooker? To be honest with you, to answer that question, I don't think so, because especially because you got him in the 3rd round. I think that's probably the big. Now, I would say, did the Titans mess up by trading up or to get Will Levis? and he didn't have a fifth-year option because it was just outside the first round. That's probably more so the debate. The Lions got him in the third round. I would much rather have who they had. I mean, they got Jameer, Jack, Sam Laporta, and Brian before they even took Hendon. So, no, I would say not. But again, if Hendon turns out to be a superstar, you're probably looking at it like, yeah, we wish we had a fifth-year option on it. But if he's good, you'll extend him either way, Sam.
Yeah,
he's going to get a contract.
And that's
it didn't stop the Eagles. Jalen Hurts
didn't stop the Eagles, and that's the thing. If you're gonna draft Hendon Hooker, which I agree with, by the way, especially in the third round, I think it was the right pick. With your other picks, you certainly have to supplement what you already have with players that can win this year, especially given the fact that the Detroit Lions are NFC North favorites. And taking Hendon Hooker, I mean, where would you have taken him? 18? That's a little bit of a reach.
Yeah, it is. And even the Packers, they took Jordan Love in the 20s, and they declined his fifth-year option and extended him. So all that stuff doesn't really matter at the end of the day. When we get back, I want to talk more about the NFL draft and what draft picks we're rooting for outside of Detroit. But before we do that, I got to tell you where you can get insurance because DeAndre Swift, you might need some insurance while you're playing in Philly. And I got a question for all you listening. Do you like the draft picks? Do you like the general manager who's making the draft picks? Well, be a boss and take control of your insurance options, just like Brad does with the NFL Draft. Draft a company that'll give you the most cost-effective plan and protect you like the best O-line in the league. Email Swiss Insurance today, mark@swissins.com. That's mark@swissins.com, or go to www.swissins.com for more information.
By now you know me, Christina Gennari, as the obvious choice in real estate. And you know my website, soldchristina.com, as your #1 resource for buying or selling your home. Myself, along with my amazing staff, pride ourselves on making your home buying and selling experience a relaxing and easy one. Come see why we are the obvious choice. Christina Gennari at soldchristina.com, the obvious choice in real estate.
Get a shot up. This is for the win. All of Detroit's sports teams live on Woodward. All of Detroit's sports coverage lives on Woodward Sports. Driving the best in Detroit sports coverage.
A morning Woodward show. If you're watching at woodwardsports.com, please be sure to check out our articles, merchandise, everything else that's going on. If you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe. And if you're listening after the fact, download this episode and leave us a 5-star review. You won't regret it.
We're back here in the Morning Woodward Show, going into the second hour on woodwardsports.com. And guys, don't forget, if you're watching live, just subscribe, like the video. If you're watching on the website, even better. Go check out the latest news, articles, updates, show clips, and merchandise, and so much more. But Sam, I want to ask you a question here. The NFL draft, and we talked a lot about the Lions picks and who they took and who we prefer. Do we love it? Do we hate it? But what about outside the Lions picks? Let's talk about picks in general, guys that you maybe liked before the draft that now they're not Lions or where they went. So what are some draft picks that you're rooting for or guys you're looking at as the season approaches to be some either dark horses or guys that are going to make some noise in the league?
You know what? I will give you one that's obvious and one that's a bit of a dark horse. First off, Will Anderson is one that I am absolutely looking at. I made a bold proclamation on Big D Energy on Friday from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Oh, gosh. What was this?
And I don't know if you heard it. And I fully believe this. I know a lot of people are going to think I'm crazy, but you know what? I don't care. Will Anderson will set the rookie sack record this season. That was set by – he will break it. It was set by Javon Curse. He had 14.5. I think Will Anderson will break it. I think he is – I don't know if I've ever seen anything like him in college. Just his ability to get to the quarterback at such a high rate with his speed and his bend and everything in between. He was just one of the most dominant college players I've ever seen. You could argue he should have won the Heisman in 2021, even over Bryce Young, and he should have certainly been in New York, even above Aiden Hutchinson, who I love with all my heart.
You do?
I do, 100%. But yeah, Will Anderson, I think that he is one of the best edge rushing prospects I've seen in the past 10 years. Certainly the best as far as like a speed rusher since Von Miller. He will break the rookie sack record this season, and the Houston Texans, by extension, they might challenge for the division. I don't think they're going to overtake Jacksonville, but Will Anderson is my guy that I will continue to look at. He will be one of my favorite NFL players right away. That's the obvious one.
Wow. Will Anderson to break the rookie sack record, JB. before I go any further, is Sam crazy? Just say it. Or do you think there's some truth to what he's saying there?
There might be some truth to what he's saying. I mean, Sam does have all the facts, so I kind of got to lean towards him with a lot of this stuff. So I don't know. I mean, he's not for our team,
JV's like, he's kind of crazy, but also Will is super talented.
He's super talented. You know, of course you're gonna root for him, but man, he's got to start playing game one, and just 2-3 sacks right out the back.
And by the way, comment if you guys are watching on WoodwardSports.com. Just if you think he's crazy, just say it. Or you agree with Sam, you could say it as well, because we're going to be going through all this. By the way, with Sam Flannel's takes, I mean, you went with Aiden Hutchinson have 12 sacks last year. Had a pretty good year. Didn't have 12 sacks, but almost had 10 and 3 interceptions.
I'll tell you what.
Pretty dang good
sacks
year.
plus interceptions, 12.5. and a lot of people will be like, oh, that's just you trying to rationalize it. But I'll tell you what. Interceptions are more important than sacks, especially when they're at the goal line. In a game in which they hold the Packers to 9 points. So, I mean, maybe I shouldn't have said 12. Maybe I should have just quit while I was ahead and said lead all rookies, which he did. But I did say 12. I will admit I was off by a smidge, and I was certainly off on my DeAndre Swift prediction. But I'm not going to be off on Will Anderson.
Okay, but this
generational.
This time you will be right. Not DeAndre Swift leading the NFC in rushing. This time specifically. So I'm with you, Sam. And before I get to your player, JB, for me, and if you watch this show, you know how much I'm what player I've been gassing up the most, and this is just pure off just selfishness, because there's a lot of players that I look at, Will Anderson being one of them. I would even bring up Bryce Young, because personally I'm rooting for him hard, even for his size. I mean, at 5'10 and a half, 195, I think he's uber talented. If he was 6'3", he'd be unquestioned the number one pick. He was regardless, but I know it with the Panthers, what they can do in the NFC. Now they have the quarterback figured out. They have a roster. They have weapons. They have a defense, and a pretty good defense, a damn good defense. And they added great coaches. I mean, Deuce Staley. They got Jim Caldwell as an offensive assistant. I like Frank Reich a lot. I know how it ended with Indianapolis. People tend to get a sour taste in their mouth, but still, Frank can coach. And I like where they're at as a franchise right now. I'm high on the Panthers. But besides Bryce, that's the obvious one. Emmanuel Forbes.
Oh, that's your guy.
That's my guy. Somebody that I've been high on. And again, I didn't expect him to be a first-round pick, especially at 17. I mean, he was gone, at 16. Excuse that. He was even higher. Gone at 16. I expected him to be an early second-round pick, but clearly Washington knew what they had in Emmanuel Forbes. And that's somebody that selfishly I'll just be watching just to see how it pans out. Somebody that you can make an argument was one of the better corners in this class. But another player I'm curious to see how it works out, it has to be Beydoun Robinson.
Oh, that's a good one.
In Atlanta.
That's a great one.
Because you guys know how I feel about Beydoun. Argued with Adham plenty of times about it. And, again, he went 8th. So, I argued for him at 6, and I was crazy. And he went 8th. So, Beydoun Robinson, I'll be watching. Jahmyr Gibbs, I think, brings a different set of skills. And again, Jahmyr is going to be great, too, because he's the best receiving back in this class. But Beydoun Robinson, to be called the best prospect at running back since Saquon Barkley, Sam, there comes a lot of expectations with that. And for a guy like Beydoun, who's been injured in college, we know he's talented, and he's going to Atlanta, which, let's be honest here, Atlanta is about a quarterback away. I mean, that offense, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, and now they got Tyler Algier and Beydoun Robinson. They're kind of building on their offensive line. If they get a quarterback in Atlanta, in the NFC, they'll be a problem. Yeah,
one of the best offensive linemen in the NFL in Chris Lindstrom, too. Yeah, Beydoun Robinson, that's another one that I'm definitely looking at very, very closely, because I said that Beydoun Robinson has the opportunity. I said if he would have went to the Eagles, that he would have led the NFC in rushing this year. He went to the Falcons, who already have Tyler Algier, who he himself had 1,000 yards as a rookie.
Yep.
I just think it's very, very reasonable to expect Beydoun Robinson from day one to be one of the best running backs in the NFL, because he is unquestionably the best running back prospect since Saquon Barkley. And I think in terms of an every down back, he has the potential to be better than Saquon Barkley. I think Saquon Barkley is a little bit of for how big he is, he's kind of a home run or lose a yard kind of guy. He's not really that guy that just gets you that between the tackles yards as consistently as Beydoun. So I'm really, really high on Beydoun Robinson. I actually have one more that is kind of selfish for a first-round draft pick that I am looking at.
Talk to me. Who is it?
How about Felix Anudike Uzomah for
the Chiefs?
For the Chiefs, of course, because they just lost Frank Clark. And Felix at I'm just going to call him FAU. He had double-digit sacks his last 2 seasons at Kansas State. And you know me. If the Detroit Lions don't win Super Bowls, I want to see Patrick Mahomes keep stacking them so that he has the accolades to actually be the undisputed best quarterback of all time. And I think FAU is going to help out a lot, and I think he has the potential to step right in and at least start to fill the void that Frank Clark did. So I'm going to be watching him very closely as well.
And again, I want to get to some of these comments because the people are chiming in. Huron Mark says, I'm interested to see Malik Richardson. Okay. I don't know if that's a joke to Malik Willis, but yeah, Richardson in Indy, he is in the best place to win now and will get on the field at some point. That's fair. I mean, Richardson in Indy with Shane Steichen, what he did with Jalen Hurts. I'm excited to see what he does with Anthony Richardson. I really am. I saw another comment here about Kalijah Cansey. Adam would love that one. Stephen Baffey, also, I think the Lions did very well in free agency, and according to PFF, they were the 3rd most improved team in the draft. That's very true. Daniel says Texans are putting Stroud out at quarterback, so I understand we'll see lots of field time. Matt says, I'm not sold on Will being as talented as top rushers coming out into the league. And that was the weird thing about Will Anderson, too. That, like, he was, last year would have been the number 1 pick. I would agree with that. This year has a little less production, still has double-digit sacks and a pick, and somehow he's a bust. Or he's, like, nowhere near where he was. That probably confused me more so than anything. But he was still the first defensive player drafted, so clearly the GMs didn't feel that way.
The classic case of paralysis of analysis, I think, when it comes to Will Anderson, because we all know last season he would have been picked ahead of Aiden Hutchinson. He would have certainly been picked ahead of Trayvon Walker and Kayvon Thibodeau. He was that good. He had one of the best seasons any college edge rusher has ever had. And yes, his production tapered off a little bit, but it's only tapered off for Will Anderson. There's a hell of a lot of prospects in this draft that would kill. They would give a toe for the season that Will Anderson had last year, and that's considered a weak season. So, to me, Will Anderson, it's just nitpicking. He is generational. He is going to be great, and he is going to break the rookie sack record this season. 17-game season, too.
17 game. Now that opens up a lot more opportunity.
Yes. I'm surprised you didn't say anything through your maze haze about Jake Moody.
Oh, Jake Moody. You know what? It's funny that
what, are you going to say he's going to have a better career than Hendon Hooker?
Absolutely not. I've actually fought with Neil Rule about Jake Moody hard because I've said this, and Jeff, tell me if you agree. And Chat, I'm kind of curious to get your thoughts too. I think Neil just slobbering over himself for Jake Moody is the most backhanded compliment at Michigan I've ever seen. He only, the guy that he praises the most, of course, is a kicker. And by the way, Lions fans, for people who just, and I'm a Jake Moody guy. Did you know that Michael Badgley and Jake Moody had the same field goal kicking percentage last year? I bet you didn't. Now you do.
Oh, Sam coming with the numbers. Okay, well, let me just kind of break that down too, because the only reason that Neil can say that is because Hendon's not going to be able to play, and we don't know what Hendon is either. Like, you have more confidence. Look at the hit rate between kickers and quarterbacks. Clearly, with Neil's argument, hitting on a quarterback is much harder. So, of course, you can sit there and say that, yeah, Moody will have a more productive career, but that'll only work if Hendon is a bust. Like, you can't just like, even if Hendon is Jared Goff, let's say, or he's a little less than Jared Goff, I'll still take Hendon every day, twice on Sunday over a kicker. Like, what are we doing here?
Sure.
Quarterback, if we talk about positional value, that's not even a debate, but that's why we love Neil Rule, because he backs his points up, and he feels that Jake Moody will be more productive. That's fair. I just vehemently disagree with it. Next topic, and when we get back from break, I do want to bring up an interesting potential splash for the Lions. And this player plays a position that the Lions need very much, and when you hear his name, you're going to be on board. Trust me. And I'm going to try and break down how the Lions can get him. But before we do that, Sam, could you tell everybody at home about where they can work out if they need to?
Absolutely. Planet Fitness is thrilled to allow high schoolers ages 14 to 19 in the United States and Canada to work out for free all summer long from May 15th through August 31st. Planet Fitness is committed to providing a safe and comfortable place for teens to work out for free all summer long. Teens can register beginning May 1st and officially gain access to the club on May 15th, with registration open during the summer months through August 31st. All high school Summer Pass participants have access to free fitness training from in-club certified trainers, free workouts designed specifically for high schoolers in the free Planet Fitness app, as well as workout plans available at planetfitness.com/summerpass. It's Planet Fitness, where your fitness is essential.
at work, and at home. We're there with smarter security solutions, featuring complete automation with customized alerts and more. For over 90 years, we've been the company that's been counted on to protect what matters most, all with personalized service and care. Right now, for a limited time, receive a free video device plus free installation with a new home system. Guardian Alarm. We protect Michigan.
We don't like to brag that we are the toughest sports network in Detroit, but we do have a guy named Darren McCarty on our side.
Lemieux and McCarty, who've had a good knockdown drag up. There they go, right on the whistle, baby, talking to one another.
Woodward Sports.
It's a great day to get some Centron in your life. Okay. There it is. Centron, here we go. Gotta grab the cranberry. Oh wait, it's 2 for $4. Gotta double up with the classic as well. Centron World, baby. Centron, available at select Krogers, and if you wanna know how, go to @CentronWorld.com. You get dope like me. You know what? Why wait? Great taste, guaranteed.
We are the network for Detroit by Detroiters. Welcome to the Woodward Sports Network.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show at woodwardsports.com. If you're watching on the website, please be sure to check out everything else going on, news updates, clips, previous episodes, all available at woodwardsports.com. And if you're watching on YouTube, like and subscribe. If you're listening after the fact, wherever you listen to your podcast, please be sure to download and leave a 5-star review.
And we are back here on the Morning Woodward Show, woodwardsports.com, halfway into the second hour. Your host for today, Jeff Iafrate, alongside me, filling in for Adam Beydoun, who's not feeling too well today, Sam Flannel. We still got the rest of the crew here, JB, Gabby, and Alex as well. But Sam, I have an interesting question to pose to you, and this is more recent news, and this is the best time for Lions just talk in general for potential, after the draft. It's all about the season. It's all about what they can do to get better. And I have a player that I think could make the Lions a lot better. And if you guys haven't been keeping up with just around the NFL and news in general, Dexter Lawrence just got paid. He got paid in New York. Jeffrey Simmons got paid in Tennessee, 2 defensive tackles, and they got big deals. I mean, Jeffrey Simmons secured a 4-year, $94 million contract. So he got paid. You know who didn't get paid, who's better than all of those guys?
Who's that?
Quinnen Williams.
Oh, boy.
Who plays for the Jets, came out of Alabama, and has been a game wrecker for the New York Jets. And again, a really good Jets defense. Like, we talk about Sauce, we talk about DJ Reed, but what about up front with Quinnen Williams and what he does to provide pressure on the interior? He's going to be a big fish available, and they can't secure an extension right now. According to ESPN, the two sides, quote, aren't close to an agreement as the talented defensive lineman has decided to skip voluntary offseason workouts. This is on sportsillustrated.com/Lions News, and they wrote an article on it. And he was a number 3 overall pick in the 2019 draft. We know that. And again, he was a Pro Bowler in 2022. He had 12 sacks last year. I mean, let's be honest here. He's an animal. He's a beast. And the Lions didn't address that position. They still have Bugs. They still have Benito Jones. They still have Aleem McNeil. But, Sam, they don't have game wreckers. They don't. I think Broderick Martin has a lot of upside as a run stopper. But this isn't just a run stopper, Sam. This is somebody who can wreck a game from the interior. Number one, he's 25 years old. He's got 1 more year left on his deal. And in 2024, he will be a free agent. So if they can't secure a deal, Sam, number one, should the Lions pursue Quinnen Williams? Because unless you wait till 2024, you got to give up assets for him, and then you got to extend him. Would you be? Because again, just adding this in before you go, they could afford it if they have a quarterback on a rookie deal. But what say you, Sam Flannel? What do you think? Quinnen Williams, should the Lions pursue him, and should they extend him?
I'll tell you what. You should at least inquire about Quinnen Williams at this point, because if there's one criticism, and I think it's very, very fair, at least to this point, about the Lions draft, is that they didn't address the defensive line really at all until Broderick Martin. And Broderick Martin, I understand he has some upside, but I mean, it's just Broderick Martin, to be fair to him. The Lions passed on Jalen Carter. They didn't address it as much as they should. It was one of their weak points last season, or as much as I think they should. It was one of their weak points last season. And Quinnen Williams, you said Dexter Lawrence and Jeffrey Simmons got paid. Quinnen Williams is better than all of them.
Yeah.
Which also means that he will probably ask
command more money.
But if you're going to pay for someone, you pay for quality, because you have Aiden Hutchinson and James Houston on the outside. If you put Quinnen Williams on this defense and he gives you what he did last year, I'm talking about the Detroit Lions as a for sure, no doubt, top 10 to 15 defense, which in turn I think would make them, oh my goodness, I mean, 12 wins, 13 wins, something like that. Quinnen Williams is one of the best defensive players in the NFL. For a lot of the season, you could have thought that he would have been Defensive Player of the Year, or at least in the running.
Yeah.
Just imagine Quinnen Williams on this defense. I know you'd have to pay a lot, but would you pay for quality? That's the thing. And Quinnen Williams would give you, on paper, one of the better defenses in the NFC after just a couple of years ago it being one of the weakest defenses in terms of personnel that I've ever seen.
And this is what's crazy, too, because, again, with Brad, you can make the argument, well, Brad drafts extremely well. Yeah, no, he does. There's no question about it. But there comes a point with every organization where you can't just always depend on the draft. Like, there's proven commodities in the NFL that are available sometimes, and you got to go make a move. You could bring up the 49ers, going out and getting Christian McCaffrey. They had a ton of talent, and Christian had a contract along with them, but they said, you know what, we'll take Christian McCaffrey. They signed Hargraves. They gave him a big deal. Like, when teams have flexibility with the cap, you just want talent, and Quinnen Williams is talent. Like, although you can make the argument, well, I'd rather Brad draft and fill out this roster with talent on rookie deals. That's fair, but why draft somebody that you hope to be Quinnen Williams, Sam, when Quinnen Williams is right there, and he's Quinnen Williams. He's one of the best defensive tackles in the entire NFL. Now, the big thing you'd have to think about, and I think this is what Brad's going to have to think about, is what's your cap on paying someone like Quinnen Williams? Because according to Spotrac, his projected salary per year is about $26.5 million. So that's projected what he thinks. The market value, just to give you a summary, it's a 4-year, $106 million deal. So you're going to pay him hefty, and you'd be paying him almost as much as Goff's making right now. But let's be real. Goff's making a significant discount to what he will make. We all assume that he'll ask for 40, 45, dare I say 50 million. And that's barring he doesn't ask for a discount, but just projected. So for Quinnen Williams at $25, $26 million annually, JB, is it worth it? Is it worth it?
It definitely has to be worth it. You have to pursue it, at least in my opinion. It's obvious that he came out and said he does want a new contract before any voluntary workouts start to happen or training camp gets here. So if the Jets don't scramble and try and make this work, which, in all honesty, they got a lot to work with, especially with the Aaron Rodgers contract and everything, I don't know. This could be a player that's just out there on a free market. And I wouldn't be surprised if Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell took a shot on him.
And I would be surprised if the Jets didn't give him a deal. I mean, they got Aaron Rodgers, and, you're kind of making the Packers pay some of that contract with Aaron, but still, they got a lot of guys they're going to have to pay, especially on the defensive side. I mean, guys that they're drafting that are coming up. Quinnen Williams has to be priority number one for them to try and extend. You still got some years left on Garrett Wilson. You got years left on Sauce, obviously, Breece Hall. All these guys have years left. Quinnen Williams is due in about a year. And I think the last thing the Jets want to do is lose Quinnen Williams. I think that should be number one. But you never know. If contract negotiations aren't going well, this is Brad Holmes' time to cook, and you call up the Jets, and you just at least see if they'd be willing to even entertain offers. But I think the Jets wouldn't trade him, Sam, until Quinnen says, all right, trade me. I'm out of here. And now I'm rooting for the Jets to fail this year so he gets out of there. But go on, Sam.
And you certainly make the call. It's definitely a little bit concerning seeing as how what Quinnen Williams will probably get with his next contract. That probably means that you can't pay some of your other rookies. Like, you'll have to choose between guys like Amon-Ra St. Brown, Penei Sewell, Aiden Hutchinson, Kirby Joseph, guys like that. One of them is going to definitely have to go by the wayside, maybe two. But if Quinnen Williams, if last season is kind of what he is, and he gives you a few more seasons of that, then it's worth it. Quinnen Williams, his numbers last season were staggering. They would make prime Aaron Donald proud. 12 sacks and a whopping 28 quarterback hits.
Wow.
That's insane. Do you think that helped out Sauce Gardner in the secondary too?
Oh, I would say so.
From the interior defensive line position, which means you're right up the middle, right at the quarterback. Quinnen Williams was a game breaker. He was dominant, but that was his first sort of godlike season ever. He was always a very, very good defensive lineman, one of the better defensive linemen, but last season he really, really showed out. If he's that and the Lions get him for that, I'd pay him $30. But at the same time, we're not exactly sure if he's always going to be that in upcoming years. He's still going to be very, very good. I think he's some guy that his floor is still one of the better defensive linemen in the NFL. But if he doesn't hit that again for multiple seasons, what he did last year, I don't know if it'll be worth that kind of money. I love Quinnen Williams as a player so much, though, and he would instantly just exponentially improve this defense.
It's like both things can be true.
Yes.
Quinnen Williams on this defense would, oh my goodness, not even just on this defense, but what Quinnen Williams provides on any defense to get consistent pressure from that defensive tackle position is unmeasurable. Especially when you have Aiden, you have James Houston, you got guys, Romeo Okwara, Julian. It's just a bunch of, you have a ton of defensive line depth, not really at defensive tackle, but if you get Quinnen Williams, that would dramatically improve your defense and secondary. But the other thing that could be true is it also makes things complicated down the line when you want to pay Jonah, you want to pay Amon-Ra, you want to pay Panay. Let's say Jared Goff wants to sign an extension. Like, that makes those things complicated. But that's what Brad's going to have to figure out and balance, because Quinnen Williams is a great football player.
But going back to kind of what Brad has said at previous seasons, just pulling this quote out, he said, we don't just spend big on getting a high-price guy. And I just don't know if it's within Brad and what he's doing right now and what he's building right now, if this fits. And he also says it has to be the right fit. It doesn't matter what the outside world thinks. We've heard him say this multiple times. It has to be the right fit for the Lions at this point. And do you think it's the right fit for the Lions at this point?
I think it checks, well, if we go off position, I would say yes. Now, I don't know Quinnen Williams personally. I think that'd have to be an interview with Dan and Brad. But if he fits in the locker room, well, there you go. And production-wise, like, they look for guys that love football. I mean, if I had to guess, I think Quinnen Williams with his production, that man loves football. So he checks a lot of boxes, but to your point, Gabby, I mean, Brad's going to have to, is he worth close to $30 million? Like, that's a big question, a very expensive question that Brad's going to have to answer. But Sam, before that, I mean, Quinnen Williams is a big fella. So if he comes to Detroit and he wants some seafood, I mean, where can you get hooked up at?
Well, you got to go to Cousins Maine Lobster, of course. Maybe that can entice Quinnen Williams a little bit, because Woodward Sports is brought to you by Cousins Maine Lobster Detroit. Check out their food trucks rolling around the city, offering the tastiest lobster rolls, lobster tacos, and more. Go to cousinsmainelobster.com and search locations to find the Detroit schedule, or download the app to order ahead and earn points. It's Cousins Maine Lobster.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Woodward golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids, all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
Big Boy Strawberry Fest has officially arrived, and we're here to show you the very best flavors of the season. Satisfy your sweet tooth with our deep-fried vanilla Oreos, strawberry hot fudge cake, and a slice of our classic strawberry pie. But that's not all. Cool off on a refreshing summer splash salad, or savor the flavors of our chicken Caesar wrap and strawberry bacon chicken wrap. And for breakfast lovers, don't miss out on our strawberry hotcakes or our mouth-watering red velvet waffle. Strawberry Fest is something for everyone. Celebrate the sweet season with us at Big Boy.
The only sports network in Detroit that starts with a W. You know, because we win. Woodward Sports, Detroit's winning sports network.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show at woodwardsports.com. If you're watching on the website, please be sure to check out everything else we have going on. If you're listening later via podcast, thanks for checking us out. Be sure to check out all of our shows. We have 4 great shows on every single day. Later today, you're going to have at 11 a.m. Big D Energy. And then around 2 p.m., you'll have Ermanni and Editors with Maz. And then to close out your day, you'll have the heavyweight. So lots of good things going on.
Yeah, you can't miss with any of those shows. And Sam Flannel, you know a lot about Big D Energy. Neil's going to come ready to go today. I already know it. But welcome. Morning Woodward Show, as always. You guys know WoodwardSports.com. Me filling in. Actually, Sam Flannel filling in for Adham. Me as your host for today. And we just got off of Quinnen Williams and discussed that topic for a second because, again, if this is where we are as Lions fans and people who talk about the Lions. They're in these waters. They're in these waters that when guys are available, you got the money and you got the assets. Now, whether you want them or not is a different convo, but you at least have to bring it up. And I want to get to some of these comments. Joey Miller says, WoodwardSports.com, Quinnen Williams and Isaiah Buggs were on the same line together in college. Very true. Didn't even think about that, to be honest with you. Huron Mark says, you guys dole out $30 million for a defensive tackle and think Goff is overpaid. Well, let me explain something to you, just so I clear some of this up. I'm not saying that Goff is overpaid. I never said that once, I don't think. Anyway, have you ever said that? You don't think Goff's overpaid, right?
Not now.
I don't think anybody thinks that Goff's overpaid, but he will be. I think we can all agree there. Unless Goff comes to the table and says, I want a significant discount, which he could. I don't know Jared Goff. I don't know what his intentions are. But assuming that he sees Daniel, he sees Geno Smith, and he sees what these guys are getting paid, he's going to ask for a big contract. So when I look at other teams, I look at the two NFC teams that were in the title this year, the title game. Both teams have a quarterback on a rookie deal. So you look at how stacked their rosters are with Hendon Hooker. If he's that guy and he has the upside that Brad talks about, yeah, if you have Hendon on a rookie deal and he replaces Jared Goff, you can afford guys like Quinnen Williams. This is the benefit of that. So that's why I bring it up. But I want to move on because this is actually now kind of breaking news. This is per Dave Burkett, who does a great job. He tweeted out actually 30 minutes ago, Lions back in play for Germany this year, ? From Peter King, who works for NBC Sports. This morning, the Chiefs requested the Bears game not to be moved overseas, scheduled due to come out this Thursday. So potentially, Sam, this Thursday, you could see a situation where the Lions maybe play the Chiefs or play a team in Germany, which we talked about. Amon Ra tweeted out he was upset that they didn't get to go to Germany. He's from Germany. His family has German heritage. What are your thoughts on that, Sam Flannel? Number one, why would the Chiefs move the game? Try and move. They don't want to play the Bears. Wouldn't you want to just go whoop the Bears in Germany?
Right. I mean, if you're the Lions and you get to play the Chiefs in Germany, if that's the alternative that the NFL wants to go to, I mean, you get to avoid Arrowhead at that point. I think that that's one of the few games on the Lions schedule that is kind of a scheduled L. I don't think they're beating the Chiefs no matter what, except if they played them at Ford Field. I think they'd have a chance, but it's either Arrowhead or Germany. I would probably take Germany because Arrowhead is the toughest place to play in the NFL. It's tough to play when the Chiefs are bad, and the Chiefs right now are a budding dynasty. I mean, Germany, it's funny that the Lions, just a couple of years ago in the Matt Patricia, Bob Quinn, and the doldrums of that era, I don't think anybody would want to see them on the national stage in Germany. They wouldn't want to see the Lions representing what the NFL and American football is in Germany with whatever that product was. But right now, the Lions have a lot of attractive pieces. They ended the season obviously very, very well at 8-2 after starting the season 1-6. There's a lot to like about this Lions team, and getting that exposure in Germany, I think it would be very, very interesting. I know it's tough to make that trip as a team. There's a lot that goes into it. It's overseas. The routine gets sort of just blown up, basically. But I would like to see it.
And again, Charles McLean says, but Jeff, the game is the Sunday before Thanksgiving. No way the Lions will play in Germany then play on Thanksgiving. It's also a great point.
That's a good point.
And again, why would the NFL, to Steve Brown's point on WoodwardSports.com, why would the NFL listen to the request? I mean, that's a great question. I don't know. I mean, it's not like you could say, all right, Chiefs, you're playing in Germany. And they're like, nah, we're good.
If anyone can, it's the Chiefs, though, right?
I mean, fair. I think that's very fair. If Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid say they don't want to play in Germany, they might not play in Germany. Although I don't think it should matter. I mean, it's Germany. Go play. I mean, teams do this. The Lions do it. I agree with you. I'd much rather play in Germany than play on the road because at least you're going to a neutral site with both fans. I mean, there'll be Lions fans there, hopefully, overseas. And then it'll be more of a split crowd rather than going to Arrowhead, which...
I just don't see a situation where they play in Germany and then they play the Thanksgiving Day game.
No,
and there's no way they're not playing the Thanksgiving Day game.
Right.
So I don't think it's very feasible for this Germany game to happen for them.
Oh, I love this comment. Potential Super Bowl matchup.
Oh.
Okay. All right. Well,
that would be the dream of all dreams for me. I would obviously root for the Detroit Lions because they're my team, but one scenario, the Lions get a Super Bowl. The other scenario, the greatest quarterback ever and my favorite athlete ever gets a Super Bowl. I'd be sitting.
Yeah,
pretty.
and then in the background, LeBron wins the title. I mean, you got a lot of things going your way if that all happens and comes into play. Epic says there's a 100% chance there will be 0 German Lions fans. All right, Epic, at least I can dream. Allow me to dream. There will be 1 or 2 Lions fans there. They might not be, as excited as Chiefs fans because of the history, but still, there'll be some Lions fans, right? Right, guys?
Well, maybe some.
No,
right?
100%.
Yeah.
Right? All right, there you go.
I mean, if you're
But then
like,
there's also like teams that are not playing there that they'll be wearing those jerseys there. Like watching the coverage last year from Germany, people were wearing like every single vintage NFL jersey for every team that you could find in the stands that day. They were not like one team or the other. They were just NFL supporters.
And you'll see now, I mean, Amon-Ra St. Brown, German. I mean, don't tell me there won't be at least an Amon-Ra St. Brown jersey in there. Don't tell me, Epic. There will be one. I swear to you. Stephen Maffey says, my dream Super Bowl scenario is the Lions versus the Jets, so we can not only end Rodgers' career in Green Bay, but just plain end his career, period. Wow. How would that be? To get back at Aaron Rodgers that way, to not only end his career in Green Bay after all these years of Aaron haunting Lions fans, and then you face him in the Super Bowl and hand him that L. And not only hand him that L, but you hand Robert Saleh, who's a Dearborn native, an L as well. I think that'd be a Super Bowl filled with storylines. There's no doubt about that.
That would be if the NFL script writers would. I mean, you can't write a script better than that. But I keep getting told by people like you, Jeff, and people like Neil Rule that it's not going to work for Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. And now you guys are saying maybe he could get to the Super Bowl.
No, that's Steven.
I know.
For me, I think the Aaron Rodgers Jets experiment is about a playoff game and done, in my opinion. I think that's about the ceiling for the Jets. I might be wrong, JB. Am I crazy for that? I think they can win a playoff game, but I don't think they're making a Super Bowl. There's no way in the AFC.
Super Bowl is too much. You're expecting too much out of Aaron Rodgers year one with this team. Playoffs, that's about it. Playoff bounced in the first round.
Isn't that crazy, too, when you hear the word you expect too much out of Aaron Rodgers? Like, could you imagine that? I expect too much out of Tom Brady. Yeah. I expect too much out of Mahomes. I expect too much out of Joe Burrow. Aaron's the only guy that we could expect too much for, right? Is that fair? Aaron Rodgers defender. Is that fair?
Well, here's the thing.
Stuttering Sam.
If the Jets make the Jets, they're in a point where if they don't make the playoffs, it's a 100% failure. So I think there are people that are expecting the Jets to do something. It's just at this point, the AFC is so stacked and loaded. No matter what, Aaron Rodgers could go in and have the best season any New York Jets quarterback has ever had, which is not that hard to do, by the way. And they have like a 13-4 record, and they still don't make the Super Bowl because they have to go through the Kansas City Chiefs, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Buffalo Bills. It's just a stacked and loaded AFC right now. It would be, I'll tell you what, if they do make the Super Bowl, it would be probably the second greatest accomplishment of Aaron Rodgers' career. Actually, no doubt about it.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. And there's no doubt about something else, which is SMA. Which, let me tell you about those, the guys over at SMA for a second, because they help spread awareness about mental health and substance abuse. Their new podcast, this is the S Word, helps fight the stigma about seeking help. If you or someone you know is struggling, head to thesportsma.com for more information. We'll see you in a second with Mailbag.
Introducing the Planet Fitness Guide to getting that post-workout glow. Step 1. What's your why? More epic energy? Better sleep? Blow off steam? Step 2. Join Planet Fitness for just $10 a month and get moving in our clean and spacious clubs. Step 3. Bask in that post-workout glow. Join Planet Fitness today for just $10 a month.
Join today at any of the 50-plus Detroit area locations.
We don't like to brag that we are the toughest sports network in Detroit, but we do have a guy named Darren McCarty on our side.
Lemieux and McCarty, who've had a good knockdown drag up. There they go, right on the whistle, baby, talking to one another.
Woodward Sports. The only sports network in Detroit that starts with a W. You know, because we win. Woodward Sports, Detroit's winning sports network.
Welcome back to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network, woodwardsports.com. And guys, if you're watching either on YouTube or on woodwardsports.com, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. Like the stream as well. Show some love. But if you're on the woodwardsports.com, which you should be watching on, Check out the latest news, articles, updates, show clips, and merchandise by all our talented writers as well for all the articles. And if you can't catch us live, it's all good. You can go back and re-listen to the show on any podcast app you listen to, Apple, Spotify, and just don't forget to leave a 5-star review. But we're back with Mailbag, and all the questions are already firing off. I want to get to them. First one comes from Steven. Mailbag, how much do you guys buy into the Jordan Love and Justin Fields hype that has been coming out of the Bears and Packers camp, and does it make you concerned? You know what I love? I love the preseason hype for all. It's not even just quarterbacks. It's just all players in general. Like, Justin Fields looks good in practice. The only one that I didn't take seriously that ended up biting me in the ass was Patrick Mahomes, because you heard that, but you're like, I don't know too much about Patrick. No, you found out quickly that what he was doing, there was truth behind it. How much stock do you buy in Love and Fields playing well before the season, Sam?
I mean, Love is an interesting one because we've really never seen him. He basically almost had his entire rookie contract without him even seeing the field, except for in garbage duty, and I think one start where Aaron Rodgers was out. So I don't know about him. He's got some good pieces around him. Justin Fields is interesting because last year he had over 1,000 yards rushing from the quarterback position, and they're upgrading his weapons. They gave him DJ Moore, another year of Chase Claypool, Darnell Mooney, Cole Kmet. I think Justin Fields
got him a tackle too.
Absolutely. I think that Justin Fields could be a problem. I think he's going to be very, very good. Jordan Love, I'm not so sure. Who the hell knows about Jordan Love? Nobody. If you guys think you know, you don't know.
Yeah, you're throwing it at the wall and seeing if it sticks. If you're laying an opinion on Jordan Love, I don't know what to think. I'm not going to say he'll be trash, but I'm not going to say he'll be elite. I don't know with Jordan Love. Like you said, a small sample size. I would have more confidence, I think, in Fields, though. If we're being real, I have more on Fields, and we know what Fields can do. We saw him in college with his arm. I know he's got an arm. He just, that the situation that he was in didn't really allow him to show that. We'll see this year with both those quarterbacks. Next question. Jonathan says, Mailbag, what teams will come out of the AFC East? Wow, good question. AFC East, what team's coming out of it?
The AFC East? I am going to go with, you know what? F it. The New York Jets.
Wow.
They're winning the division.
Winning the division?
They are winning the division at this point.
Okay.
They just have so much. I mean, that's the thing about all of you guys dismissing Aaron Rodgers. Breece Hall's back. They're returning the defending offensive and defensive rookie of the year in Garrett Wilson and Sauce Gardner. Quinnen Williams. I mean, unless something happens, he's still there. C.J. Mosley at linebacker. I think the New York Jets win that division by 1 game, and the Buffalo Bills get in as a wild card. Give me the Jets.
Oh, well, I'll take the Bills or the Dolphins over the Jets, but that's fair. This is why I love these preseason predictions. JB, before we move on, who do you got coming out of the AFC East?
I gotta agree with you. It's either the Bills or the Dolphins.
Woo!
Yeah.
See, you could just JB.
I'm looking over Aaron Rodgers and the Jets.
That's very smart.
Gonna happen.
Charles McLean says, Mailbag, how long do the Tigers stay in the division race? Sam Flannel, what say you? AL Central, baby. They're third right now.
You know what? I'll tell you what. They're going to be competitive in this race all throughout May. Have you seen that schedule? I think their only opponent with a winning record is the Pirates, and they are the Pirates are frauds. Come on.
Yeah, they are.
In this division, it is very, very weak. I think the whole month of May, at the absolute worst, they're gonna get no further back than 5 games back, and then maybe in June or July they're gonna fade off a little bit because they just don't have the talent. But the Detroit Tigers, this idea that they were ever gonna be like a 50-win team was absurd. They're going to at least win 70 or 75.
Yeah, I would agree with you there. I mean, they're 3 games out of the division, and even right now, over the last 10 games, they have the best record in the division over the last 10 games, 6-4. But again, we'll see. There's still a lot of season left. I mean, they really, besides their Erod, pitching is
ace.
It's a little scary there.
How many games will Swift play aside from the preseason?
How many games, regular season games, will Swift play this year? I'll say 10 or 11.
Wow.
I think he misses 5 or 6 games.
I'm actually going to go 14. I'm the optimist here.
Yeah.
But it still would miss 3. But 10 or 11?
I think he'll play those games. He'll miss 5 games, I think. 5, 6 games. Hey, that's just me. Maybe that's just what I've seen of Swift in Detroit. Average, he misses about 3 to 4 games a year.
No, man, that's fair.
But we'll see. Wow. But the touches will be significantly less, I think, now with the amount of weapons they have. Maybe he stays healthier, to your point. Maybe he had a little more on him in Detroit. But yeah, I think 10, 11 games he plays. More questions. John Lord, Mailbag Gabby, if you had to host a show on Woodward, who would host it with you?
Oh, great question.
Good question, John.
I think I'm going to go with someone who also is not a host right now, and I have to go with Booner.
Booner. Booner's a legend.
Booner's
a legend in the chat. People love him. So not on a show right now. I'd have to go I'd have to go Booner.
Watch out for that man. Booner's very, very talented and hungry. I've done some work with him. The dude knows his stuff.
Yeah, I love Booner, man. Me and Booner. Booner and Lucas. Three peas in a pot. All right, let's go. Cutie, Swift played a ton through injury last season. Not his fault. He can't stay healthy. Guys, when are we going to get over it's not his fault he can't stay healthy? I'm not saying it's his fault he's hurt, but what are the facts, Sam? He's hurt.
He's hurt. You know, it's not his fault, but right now it's not our problem.
Right.
And that's the reality of the situation. If you get hurt, you're not available. What are the Lions supposed to do with you? Bye.
Austin says, the last time you said something about the Tigers, you said the Tigers are going to lose the most games in MLB history. Bye-bye. Was that? I think that was Adham who actually said that. I don't remember anyone saying they'd lose the most games in MLB history. Another question. Let's see. A lot of people chime into the AFC East. I don't see a lot of Jets picks winning that division.
It's just Aaron Rodgers hate, and I get it.
I'm just saying.
I get it.
I'm just saying. Okay. Thank you guys. I'm in Detroit right now en route to Sam's Mecca. No, thanks for tuning in, LFG. He's always in the chat, by the way, supporting the show. Booner, he also says, LFG says, Booner always prepared, like Sam. Yeah, shout out to Sam, by the way. He came in on about 45 minutes notice.
And that's all right.
Sam's the real MVP here. Let's see. Jake says, McDermott is a risk taker. The Bills are good, but I don't think they are an all-out lock. Miami seems heavily dependent on Tua's availability. Should be an interesting race in the East. Yeah, I agree. I wouldn't be. I mean, if the Jets win the division, will I be shocked? No, but I would much rather pick Miami in the Bills. But still, he's absolutely right. If Tua gets hurt, I mean, the season's over. So at least with Aaron, typically he's not hurt a lot. He's more available. I mean, Tua's about a concussion away from retirement.
That's true.
So that's a scary situation to be in for the Miami Dolphins. In the Bills, they need a run game. So as long as they can figure out how to run the ball, that's really their last issue. Dre asks, who are the top 5 teams in the AFC right now? Oh, wow, that's a good question. I would say Chiefs, Bengals. I would even put the Bills still 3. And then I would go, I still believe Miami's up there. I think Miami's one of the better teams on paper in the AFC. And then I think you can make an argument for the Jets as a roster. They're stacked. What do you think? I'll throw the Jets in there. Why not?
I would go Chiefs, Bengals, Jets, Bills, Jags.
Oh, Jags are in there.
Yeah.
Okay, fair.
I love Trevor Lawrence.
Jags are up there too. I just think as a roster, although I don't believe in Aaron, Jets have a good roster. They do. Again, let's see who has more total yards, Gibbs or St. Brown. That's a good question because Gibbs' total yards is the key part of that. And then we're gonna. Well, that's the last question of the show right here.
I think it would be really, really good for the Lions if it's Gibbs.
Yeah.
Because I mean, especially with Jamison Williams being out for the first 6 games of the season, Jahmyr Gibbs might be your speed. It might be the guy that Ben Johnson can scheme plays for in space. And if the only way that the number 12 overall pick is going to be worth it for Jahmyr Gibbs is if he is a dynamo catching passes out of the backfield. I think he will.
And we know Amon-Ra St. Brown through the first 6 games will be dependent on heavily. So I would say Amon-Ra St. Brown just because of the JMO suspension. But thank you guys, every single one of you, for tuning into the show, whether it's on YouTube or WoodwardSports.com. Don't forget, like I said, subscribe if you haven't already. And after the show ends, don't forget, in only an hour, Big D Energy, 11 to 1, will be live. Neil Rule, Darren McCarty. Don't forget to check those guys out. And for Ermanni and Edwards, 2 to 4, heavyweights 5 to 7. Check it out. News, articles, updates, show clips, and merchandise, all available on our website. But until tomorrow morning, see you guys later.